Yagwai.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 19th of May, 2019. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
I know them from Fallout. That's how I know that.
And Robert Kemp.
Wagwan. What it sounded like to me, a little bit. Was it Mogwai?
No, with a Y.
With a Y, Yagwai.
Yeah, approximately.
They related to Mogwais. Like from
in Fallout,
Gremlins.
they're basically just radioactive bears. So, you know.
All right.
Did someone feed them after midnight? Or?
The radioactivity.
So how is everybody? Did you watch Eurovision, Zach?
No.
Or is it just us?
Is that not your thing, Zach?
I couldn't be bothered. I was doing other things. I was just like, I could stop and do that, but I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing instead.
In fairness, if you weren't watching it for gambling purposes, that might have actually have been the sensible option. It wasn't an all that interesting year, I don't think.
Well, some people suggested that it was a more interesting year than it has been.
I don't know. It's definitely not the weakest year we've watched. I'll give it that. But it's like I was sort of expecting after like last year's bonkers chicken lady that won.
Yeah,
the other nations would perhaps like start going, oh right, crazy can work.
Yeah, but everyone knows that that doesn't actually work when you try and do it.
Yeah, trying too hard.
You can't deliberately try and be zany. That's how corporations always fail when they try and be humans.
I think that's what used to happen in Eurovision, though, right? Like trends were there, like the dubstep year.
Yeah, but that's just a general musical trend. That wasn't a Eurovision trend.
I guess, but so many acts did it that one year. There was like a break halfway through a lot.
There wasn't anything this year in that vein.
No, there was absolutely no dubstep breakdown. Not even in that Icelandic industrial tune. The whole thing, I suppose, was a breakdown.
Were they trying to lose? They did mysteriously well, Iceland.
They did do mysteriously well.
Well, that's again, you can't try to lose because then you won't lose because people like dumb things.
It was pretty dumb. I'll give it that. I'm still annoyed Italy did as well as they did. I know it wasn't part of the game, the gambling game, but like it was still.
We didn't actually gamble any money.
No. That must be said. We're gambling our pride.
We're just playing for points.
I mean, there's no reason you couldn't have gambled for money. It was your own internal thing inside your house, inside a house. It's not like it's illegal or anything.
No, I'm just saying that don't really do that.
In fact, you literally could have just gone to a betting shop and bet on it, and that's not illegal either.
No, it's not. It's not a good idea.
No, it's definitely not a good idea.
Given our record, we don't pick them very well.
No, we don't. What did any of us get the winner?
Well, Vanessa picked the winner, but she also picked the wrong loser. So because she picked North Macedonia, who was
also nearly the winner.
At least was of the judges, who were ridiculous. I can't believe they spent loads of time on the judges' numbers, which were the bullshit ones, and not enough on the popular numbers, which were the important ones.
It is a bit of a weird way around, isn't it? Like it would make sense if it was flipped, if the whole structure was flipped, right?
Maybe, yeah.
That they do the. I guess they want they're trying to make it so the very last point reveal could actually
swing everything.
Is the important moment, where I suppose in the old mechanism you get like the first past the post problem, right, where someone wins it and it's like, well, that's it, the rest of these votes are meaningless and no one really cares at that point.
It did decide everything right at the end, which was quite exciting. Kind of cool. I guess it worked. That was the plan.
But they could quite easily just get rid of the entire someone calling.
Well, they can't get rid of that though. That's part of the whole Eurovision
That's the whole
brand.
thing, yeah.
Oh, boy,
I mean, I really didn't like the
they should put
at least three of them this year did I'm going to do a whole musical number while I'm trying to tell you the scores. I'll play guitar or piano for no reason.
Here's a talking head, but just rein them in a bit more.
Yeah, rein them way
Tell
in.
them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That was an odd trope. But then I guess they don't know until the cameras are on and they're doing it what that person's going to do, right?
No, they
have
don't.
rehearsals.
It's all live, right?
Well, don't they?
Yeah, but they don't know what people are going to do.
I guess.
I liked the
I suppose the guy sat down.
Was it the Netherlands lady who was like, "Oh, thank you for this amazing show, and thank you for Madonna's auto-tune as well."
Oh yeah,
that was good.
There was well, I suppose you knew what was going to happen with the guy who was sat down at a piano.
Yeah, you definitely should have seen that coming.
Like he's probably going to play his piano. I did like how one of the vote caller people were just, it was so shameless. They were just like, "Hey, we're this band, but like we've got new music coming. Here are our votes too."
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
Were we even? I missed the bit where were we called up at all? The UK, we must have been.
Yeah, they called Rylan.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Rylan Clark. He was he was an X Factor contestant.
Oh, okay.
Naturally.
Oh, that's why I don't know.
And then became a bit of a reality TV show presenter. Like I think he did some stuff for Big Brother, maybe, like not as a contestant but as a presenter.
What?
And now has a Radio 2 show. He's actually all right.
Yeah,
like
sure.
He was less all right on X Factor, but now he's kind of cool.
It's probably two of most people on X Factor.
Yeah. I don't think, as usual, I don't think we deserve to come last. It wasn't as strong as as our song from last year, for sure.
It doesn't really matter what our song is, though. It's not really relevant.
No, Europe just doesn't care.
No,
Europe don't care,
and they should.
I mean, they have increasingly more reason to give us no votes as time goes on at the moment.
Exactly.
We did this to ourselves somehow more so.
There was like a couple, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where it was like, holy shit, we're starting to get points. We finally started to rise out of the depths of everyone being pissed off.
Here's the thing, we actually got 16 whole points this year. But that wasn't enough to become anything more than last.
Well, at least everyone gets points nowadays, I guess.
I suppose. It's very rare that you'll get someone that actually just totally zeroes out.
Someone got 0 from the popular. France, wasn't it? I can't remember. Yeah, no, Germany. Germany got 0 from the popular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
It's
funny how no one likes Germany. It's because Germany is like the tells everyone in Europe what to do. They're like seen as the irritatingly responsible ones.
Stop. Wait, that's Dutch, isn't it? In the Grohl Sheds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are Russian. Do your Dutch German and then your German Russian.
Yeah. There was obviously the Madonna had to do her political dig thing, and like it was I heard it on the news this morning where it was admittedly Radio 1 news, so not really
not the most easy news,
not the most in-depth coverage. But they were like, there was a controversy at Eurovision last night when the flags for Israel and Palestine were brought together. They had planned this hadn't been planned to happen. But clearly Madonna had planned it to happen.
Well, it was pretty obvious that she's going to do something. It was actually more interesting that Iceland did it. Like when they cut to them in a reaction shot, they had the flags, the Palestinian flags.
Yeah.
But their whole thing was like sod you, basically, including their song.
When they even got like a 12, didn't they get a 12 points at one point? And the camera cuts to them, and they're just in character, just pulling a blank face.
Yeah, didn't they have like black?
There was one. There was one guy that had black contacts.
That's horrible.
Because of course. Not even a giant fake hammer could save that song.
That was kind of lazily being swung.
I mean,
side to side.
I think that guy was getting quite tired.
Yeah, don't blame him. Could have made the hammer out of foam or something. Even then,
well, make it out of the same stuff they make Amy Rose's hammer out of. Video games.
Great segue. Not that we've got any relevant news about Sonic for segue into.
I have got movie.
Yeah,
commentary.
That's the most obscure
film
angle
section
of that section. Yes, the film segment.
Detective Pikachu has been watched by my eyes.
A kid's film.
It's definitely a kids' film, right? There's but
it's not exactly Deadpool, let's say.
No. I mean, there's one.
Is it Deadpool for kids?
I mean, a little, but not really.
Not really. Okay.
It has the problem where it's very much content in just stringing you along between action scenes, and the actual plot holding the thing together being pretty weak, to say the least. The mystery and the detectiveness kind of fades into the background after like the first half an hour. It's nearly a 2 hour. It's a nearly 2 hour film, and the first half hour does a relatively decent job of setting up the premise of like who the kid is, and why, introducing him to Pikachu, and what's going on with this city, and why all the Pokemon are about, and all that stuff. It does, and what the mystery actually is. It does a relatively decent job at that, and then kind of doesn't care. Like it,
right?
The mystery, like that, it leads them to places for sure. But it's just like everything just feels like an excuse for, hey, you want to see this Pokemon do some stuff? Well, we've got that, bro.
I mean, how many Pokemon could it possibly showcase? Given there's like 150.
I mean, there's a lot that are missing, even from the first 150. They don't do them all. I mean, that is one of the best things about this film, is how well realized that world is visually. And
is there like a fight club with Pokemon? Because that's
it's an illegal fight club, of course.
Excellent.
Because the whole thing with Rhyme City, and minor spoilers for like the first 15 minutes, I guess, is that this city was built in order to try and form a harmonious relationship between humans and Pokemon, rather than them being stuck in the cycle of catch and fight, please.
Cycle of violence, yeah.
Yeah. The Pokemon battles, and so this was them trying to break free from that tradition and have Pokemon live alongside and work and play, and
like the dinosaurs in the Flintstones. They have like weird jobs, and they're like, it's a living.
It's now you've mentioned it, that's pretty similar. I mean, they still do what they do, like you know that from the trailer, there's that, is it a Machamp directing traffic?
Yeah.
But the reason why he's directing traffic is because there's a big ass Snorlax sat there, and just like, oh right, okay, yeah, that's what Snorlax does. That's fine.
I think that counts as doing something when what you're doing is just existing and being lazy.
Yeah,
like that. It's not really a job.
No, it's not a job. It's just what happens. It's just Snorlax.
What it's not doing is falling from the sky and crushing everyone.
Yeah, true. Snore,
as it does in Smash Bros.
Yeah, but they do. What I mean to say is they do a very good job.
Smash Brother. Sorry.
Yeah. They do a very good job of making the world a world where normal ass animals aren't a thing.
Right.
Could potentially work. And could potentially be like
it's not exactly that difficult, really.
No, because there's so many
covers every goddamn animal in the entire world anyway.
Right. There's so many parallels. Yeah, you're right. Like they've got enough to pull from now, but it works, and they've had to re-CG everything like that, and then they go out of their way to make everything look busy and filled with these creatures, and they do a fantastic job of that, and I like those the weird, creepy, realistic look that they've given to everything. They still look like the Pokemon, but they look like the real, like if they're, and it's really good. It's really well done.
Have they consistently held to, from the very beginning of Pokemon, only having Pokemon and not having any kind of animals in it? Has that always been the case?
I can't think of a circumstance where it hasn't been like that.
It's pretty impressive, really.
It is, really.
I mean, it made much less sense in the early games before they started. Well, basically, it made less sense in the early games before they started running out of ideas and just made Pokemon of literally everything.
Trash pile.
Because originally you were like 150 different animals, and that covers the entire world, and it's like, that's a bit sparse. Where's like the cows? And it's like, oh, gold, here's a cow.
Here's a cow. Yeah.
Pokemon Gold.
I mean, that's the other thing the film does occasionally, is where they're not afraid to poke fun at some of the more dumb Pokemon that they feature. You know, Cubone's right at the start, and they kind of poke fun at Cubone because that's a kind of messed up.
Well, it's kind of messed up. I don't know if it's dumb.
Cubone's kind of cool.
In a weird ass way. Yeah.
But there must, I mean, not to get into it, but where do they draw the line? Like flies and bees and things? Like, I guess they are. There's probably a bee Pokemon, but what size is it? Is it the size of a bee, or is it huge?
I don't know. I never bothered to look at the Pokédex and see how big they're meant to actually be. I'm pretty sure the bee is actually real small. Like
they don't approach those, so those aren't covered.
No.
We won't find out here.
Yes, that's not in the first 150.
No, I guess. No. Okay. Yeah, and classic mistake. I would say I didn't think the trailer was hyper funny, but unfortunately, it seems like quite a lot of the
best stuff.
Humor element is done in the trailer,
right?
And the actual film is more about, as I say, stringing you between action sequences. It's not badly made. I just think when they actually come to the actually telling a story, they kind of just want to skip over it a bit,
right?
So it's not terrible, but it's also
nothing to
nothing. Yeah, I wouldn't call it good. About. As far as video game adaptations go, it's up there though.
Well, yes, not a high bar.
Not a high bar for sure.
Just wait until November.
Oh God.
Assuming that film even comes out in November.
I know. that has to be delayed, right?
Well.
There's all these theories running around that tweet that went out about him changing the CG is like that's a nonsense. That Sega and Paramount are never going to agree to that.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, why would they spend more money on something they almost guaranteed to flop at this point?
Because you might be able to make it not flop so much.
I don't know.
I think
you might be able to spend less money than you made to make the whole thing to start with. Like, if it is just, like, redesigning the CG, you might be able to get away with, like, not having to re-render so much.
I mean, it's just a character, but it is the character, right? It must be where...
But you're not having to, like, reanimate it. No. Theoretically.
Well, I don't know. If the design is radically different, like, if it's more like Sonic, then you are going to have to reanimate that.
Maybe.
Which is I actually think is fine, because some of the animations, specifically the one where he throws himself out of the car. Do you remember, like, and then lands and spins and then goes into his thing? That animation of him sort of like flailing through the air, a bit like a grunt from Halo, is kind of terrible.
Everyone likes to flail.
It looked better in Halo.
I know where it did.
So yeah, that's my film review of the week. Film of the week. I had to go see it. It's podcast worthy.
I just need to see Endgame again.
My
brother saw it in the IMAX. I might have to do that. He recommends doing.
Yeah, we did that. That was good.
Did. Oh, you've got an IMAX in Ipswich, haven't you? I think you went to the BFI IMAX.
Oh, the proper
full
IMAX.
Size, yeah.
Yeah.
Not some knockoff IMAX. Full on IMAX.
Yeah, we get half-assed IMAX. But...
Yeah. I mean, proper IMAX is like the screen is like it's like 8 stories high. It's ridiculous.
I mean, our one's nice. It's clearly the best screen in the house.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I actually think the extra volume is one of the nicest things about that screen,
right?
Because it drowns out idiots.
Yeah.
Because we did have the problem where, of course, it's a kids' film, and we should expect some of this, but there was a slightly overexcitable kid to the right, like who was pointing out all the Pokemon.
Oh, that's fine in Pokemon. I thought you were talking about Endgame. It's totally fine.
No, in Pokemon, it got a bit much though, because he was like doing it the entire, and like the dad was just going, "Shh, for the love of God, shush."
Kind of cute though.
Kind of. It's just a bit much. You should sit further forwards. I don't know. Like there should be like a.
I mean, there is usually, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, there should be like an adult-only seating area.
Where all the sex happens.
Where all the sex happens.
Lovely.
Was it like,
what do you think that going to the cinema is like, Zach?
In Ipswich, who knows?
We don't have those like couch seats like some cinemas do.
Yeah.
But the the sort of like the Radio 5 like film show Kermit and Mayo thing, like the code that they adhere to. There should definitely be like a code compliant screening or something like that, where you have to be on your shit, otherwise you get thrown out.
Yeah, defo.
I want a code compliant screening, yo.
Have you got like a picture house or like an art cinema type thing? You must do.
We've got Empire now, so not exactly that. That's another
one in the
chainy in the butter market. Which apparently is really nice and reasonably priced.
Oh,
but
cool.
I've got a Cineworld card, so I'm using it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the parking's easier at Cineworld.
Right. That's movie news. Time for video game news.
Games!
Kind of.
News. What's going on in the world of video games?
In the world of news. All right, well, let's start roughly at the start.
Let's start with something that happened almost immediately after the last podcast, as usual.
Sony did another one of those state of play things.
Very short.
A very short one. Better made overall, I thought. I thought the tone and...
I needed to see the first one, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I thought the tone and pace was much better judged this time round. Only two things that I want to talk about. One, they showed Medieval, which I think is the first time we've seen gameplay from the remake of that. It didn't strike me as looking all that great, if I'm honest. If you put it next to like what they did with the Spyro and Crash remakes, this doesn't quite seem to carry that level of polish. And also, that again, I'm willing to put this down to bad video cut or something, but it looked really quite framey in spots. Like it was a bad. I hate it when they do that. Like just put like unless this is actually what the game is going to be. Like why you don't put out early footage if it's bad. Like anyway, I kind of have it's one of those games I only sort of touched incredibly briefly back in the day when it actually came out. Like my cousin had it, so I played it every now and then. Didn't spend a huge amount of time with, so I do have a passing interest in it being good. But maybe it wasn't good. I don't know.
I suspect it might not have been good. And just remaking the graphics probably isn't going to help.
No. I like the idea of it, though. The Dan is cool. And of course, the other thing we need to talk about, there's nothing really else going on in that state of play other than, hey, we got a Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, finally.
Yeah.
Although, you feel like at this point they could have just waited to do E3. I mean, obviously they're going to show it again at E3, but
that opinion has been echoed a lot. As in, why did you jump the gun here?
Unless they are going to show like a lot more at E3. Unless that, it's like that could be the thing where it's just like if they've showed it now, they must have more to show at E3, not just the same thing again. Hopefully,
well, this is the thing. This leads me to like there's plenty of theories about this going around. Like, they're okay. Number one, they seem to be holding back the character design for Tifa for some reason. They've pretty much shown everyone else.
Don't know about holding back. More like maybe just doesn't exist at this point.
Why are they showing Aeris and not Tifa?
Because Aeris is the important one.
Yeah, I guess.
Tifa is hella generic.
Yeah, but she's also kind of the fan favorite, for
she's the cosplay favorite,
reasons.
Isn't she? Yeah, for reasons. Yeah. I mean, that's basically what you're waiting for, right? It's nothing to do with the game. It's like what the cosplay is going to look like.
Kind of.
Yeah, but the cosplays are going to look like advent children because that's basically what.
Do you think?
It's weird to see, like, because. I mean, this is just...
It's kind of the direction they've taken it in.
It's weird to see you've got the Final Fantasy VII version of Cloud in like upgraded to like the Advent Children graphics, basically.
Yeah, because we can render those in real time now.
But because Advent Children takes place after Final Fantasy VII, but Aeris dies, you've got the Aeris from Advent Children in Final Fantasy VII because it's the same. It's like basically exactly the same model.
Yeah, it's very similar.
And I'm just like, oh. Yeah, I guess that would be what she looked like. It's exactly the same as that model it was in the film.
I mean, I don't mind them using the Advent Children look because it was a good look. But that means, Tifa was wearing different clothing and stuff in the film. So it's
not that different. We got rid of the red bits, I guess.
She had a big ass cloak, didn't she? Really, and
sometimes, but
and a much longer
had the skirt.
Leather skirt. Yeah,
I don't know if it was that much longer. It was slightly. It's hard to tell how long that skirt is on the Final Fantasy VII model, anyway.
Well, true. But they have the CG scenes, I suppose. But like, they are all weirdly proportioned. But still, it's that thing. It's like there was some discussion going around about are they being careful about her design because of the reasons, because of the short skirt, because of the boobage, and are they like trying to? Are they trying to calm that down a little bit so it doesn't seem like it's one of those characters?
But they still haven't shown any of like the whole of fucking Sector 6 and the brothel and Don Corneo's mansion and all that stuff. No. That's basically, if you're worried about Tifa, worry about that whole section of the game.
It's hard to judge from what we've seen so far exactly how far through Midgard.
Well, they showed the sewer boss, which happens immediately after Don Corneo's mansion when he checks into the sewer.
So we're expecting that stuff to be in this first episode.
I guess.
Yeah, it's still implied that it's episodic, but there's also some incredibly hopeful conversation going on that the June stuff will be, oh, hey, actually, we've gone past this. Like, we're not doing...
That's not going to happen.
Presumably in June, they're actually going to tell us what the structure is, which would be nice.
Hope.
Like, episode 1 will cover this point.
I mean, I think it's fairly certain that episode 1 is going to cover Midgar. I mean, why would you not? That would just be the logical point to break that up, and that was pretty much... It felt like that in the original game.
Maybe, but the whole episodic structure thing creates potential problems for the late game, right? Where are we really going to be seeing an open world structure to it? Like, probably not.
Well, yeah, but think about how much content there was in some of those places on the map.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Much.
Well, sure, but I don't know.
A town and you talk to one guy, and that advances the plot.
It's just an odd packaging mechanism. Like, unless the whole thing builds up to something like truly colossal, where you need all the previous episodes.
What you really want to worry about is episode 2, where you're going to have the whole fucking flashback to Nibelheim. Because you go to that inn and spend like half an hour having a flashback.
No, yeah.
I mean, I saw quite a lot of tweets of like all of the weird shit from Final Fantasy VII that has to be in the remake, right?
Oh yeah, all the stuff that they haven't shown about Sector 6 in Midgar. That's basically the thing everyone's worried about. The cross-dressing is basically what everyone's worried about.
Yeah, right, okay.
It's a fairly iconic sequence.
Well, it's not like we know they're not doing it. Why would they show that in a trailer? That would be a bit weird. Or maybe they will at E3. They'll be like, okay, you've seen the cool trailer. Here's all the weird shit.
If we're assuming that they're like that Tifa is going to be at E3, this will be the opportunity to just show all the weird shit and be like, you thought it was serious, as we showed in this preview and the Sony thing, but here's where we're going to show you the actual Final Fantasy VII. This is what this game was actually like.
Here's the fighting house.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I reckon they'll just play a normal, like, serious ass trailer, and then right at the end, they'll just have like Cloud in a dress wander out and put his fingers up in a V and just be like, "Hey!"
No, a V. Don't think he ever got that enthusiastic.
No, he didn't. But... Ding. And then maybe there'll just be some voice going kawaii.
No, I don't think there will be.
I thought it was quite interesting, like, because I've seen both the English and Japanese version, but they're putting the effort in to lip sync it properly for both languages and get all that stuff like sorted.
Even more work.
And it's like, they're putting in work. I mean, if it looks like how it looks, and that's running on like a PS4 or something, that's also a damn fine looking game. So, like, is this the point where we start questioning what that's running on?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's why we haven't seen it for a really long time. Maybe it was only CG before, and now they're like, now we can finally actually make this game because we have systems that can do this.
Yeah. I mean, there's supposed to be dev kits out there, aren't there, now for PlayStation 5 or whatever it's going to be called?
Supposedly, yeah.
But on the other hand, it looks pretty much like Final Fantasy 15 combat, so maybe not that much work.
Yeah, so that's the thing that has me worried, I think, more than anything, is like just in general, like, what is the core structure of this game? How does it actually play? It's like, it looks good, and it's probably going to be a fairly decent retelling of the story, but how does it actually play? And it's like, it's weird because it looked a bit Final Fantasy 15, but in the same breath, like, everything seemed they were attacking it face on, rather than being all around it.
Well, it's because they don't teleport.
Well, yeah.
They don't have the ridiculous Final Fantasy 15 movement.
But only Noctis was a teleporter in 15. The rest all walked around.
But they could, like, reposition off screen or whatever.
Maybe. I don't think they did, but I guess I never know.
Yeah. But it's not like...
Because you'd be waiting for them quite a lot during some sequences. It's like, I need you to come over here.
But it wouldn't matter because, like, the fights in Final Fantasy VII are much smaller. It's not like you're fighting in a big open space in Final Fantasy VII. You're typically fighting in a corridor.
And there was some choice of what move was being played out. It seemed like people looking at the little bars, seemed to be there was some sort of action point system going on that potentially, I guess, limits what you can do or when you can do stuff.
Yeah.
Like some nod to ATB, even if the whole thing is real time.
I mean, my assumption would be that that style, it would be just like, because it definitely has the character switch buttons to switch between the different characters. I would assume that like it will be just when the characters you're not controlling will be more like just window dressing. Like they'll do some damage, but they won't do any actual moves
unless you switch.
So you just have to. So it would be like commanding the team, except more.
It'll look good, but you need to take control in order to do some real work.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
See, I'm other than the sort of standing still thing of Final Fantasy 13, this kind of feels like what you described is a little bit like what that was going for, except you can, rather than just pressing the auto button the whole goddamn time, and doing the paradigm shifts. You're actually switching to a character. Say, okay, do this thing. Now switch to the other guy. Now do this thing.
But then the question is, how many options do you have? Because there's like, here's the 4 buttons, one of which is potion, one of which is generic attack, and one maybe for your limit break. And then one for materia?
Well, I don't know. I reckon they might bring in, 15 actually had a sort of pause mechanic for, not for magic, because magic was assigned like a weapon. But if you wanted to use an item, for instance, the game just stopped. And was like, right, okay, now here's the list of things you want, and I mean that was your way of creating a pause.
I mean, when they have the button which says potion, that could just be like maybe that's the default, but then you can open up a
hotkey or something, or
open up a sub menu if you hold down the button or something.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
To go through your actual item list.
And then maybe at that point it either goes into super slow mo or just straight up pauses to be like, I need time to.
I don't think going to straight up pause. I don't think games will do that any longer. I'm pretty sure there'll always be some kind of slow motion.
But as I say, 15 actually was just a hard pause. Because you end up with smeg ton of items in those games.
Sure, but you're not meant to be doing shit. I mean, ideally, you're not meant to be confused about what you need to do in combat. You're supposed to just know the one item you need to get and just have it.
I guess, but that's what I think. That's one of the things that modern RPGs get very wrong. Is like there is no puzzle to the combat very much anymore.
Well, yeah,
it's like what's the strategy? I don't know. Hold B.
But it's not like there was much puzzle in Final Fantasy VII's combat. Really, the puzzle was arranging all your materia, and you do that out of battle.
I guess.
But apart from that, you're just hitting attack mostly, and then occasionally, if you find something that's a bit too hard, then you break out the magic and burn all of your magic points in one go.
Yeah. I guess that was the other thing. Not really related to gameplay, but a lot of people were saying that scene with Sephiroth, not in the original.
I think what that is when you're in the reactor. And it's the first instance where the screen
I've heard this.
The screen gets all red and like Cloud holds his head.
Yeah,
that's what that is. It's like that's what he actually sees. Whereas in the original, he just like falls over for a minute.
Which I actually think is a sensible play, right? Because during our playthrough of FF7, we managed to get through the whole thing in about 30 hours, right?
36.
And they're saying that the episodes are like are probably going to be like chunky ass amount of time each.
Yeah.
Or they haven't talked about this hugely, but that's kind of the impression everyone's taking away from this. So if that means they need to add stuff to the story, like fill in some of these gaps and things like that to make that section last like 20 hours on its own, then
I don't know about if you're talking about episodes, I still think it's fine to be like 10-hour episodes. I don't think you need it to be a 20-hour episode.
I don't know. It depends hugely on what this model is, how much it costs, and like there's all that stuff flying around still. And it's like it's just a 10-hour thing isn't really what you expect from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but
even just
in
one
3 parts.
It won't be 3 parts. Like it'll be more than that.
I don't know if they can get away with doing more than 3 parts.
I reckon that's all run and run.
I mean, as we said, it's a 35-hour game. And if you're making episodes out of that, 3 would make sense. Unless they really haven't been able to do much work, and it's going to be split down even more to like 5-hour episodes or something.
Maybe. It's a mystery.
Well, I guess we're going to find out at E3 because at least they specifically said there'll be more at E3.
Yep. Well, they didn't say at E3. They said
June. Well, they said June, which you assume means E3.
Yeah, that is the assumption. Squeenix aren't doing a. Are they doing a stage show this year?
I don't think they've said one way or the other, so the assumption is yes.
Okay. Maybe this is just an hour of Final Fantasy VII.
Yes, because what else are they doing? More Tomb Raider.
As we talked about last time, I think they have got a couple of games that they announced last year that we'd have no idea what they actually are.
Mm.
So they'll probably be those. And Tomb Raider 4, maybe. Lara Wants to Die.
No.
I didn't play the third one, but I thought that was supposed to be like a story wrapper.
Well, it was the whole she finally becomes the Tomb Raider.
But she's a shadow of her former Tomb Raiding self.
So there's always a chance to become more Tomb Raider.
You've got to get to the point where you're backflipping over a Bengal tiger that was firing into its face with two 9mm pistols.
And then a T-Rex.
And then a T-Rex.
Then a T-Rex.
Then a mummy. That's the true Tomb Raider.
That is the true Tomb Raider. And they haven't leaned into that nearly enough. I think, again, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but that's kind of what they did with the first Tomb Raider. They had that little bit of supernatural element in it.
Yes.
And then just steered so far away from it on the second one.
Well, they probably don't like comparisons to Uncharted, I guess.
Oh, well, actually, that's a lie. There's a bit of it in the second, but it's not.
Uncharted doesn't have fucking T-Rexes or any of that shit. It's pretty grounded.
No, but that's Shambhala.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it goes off the rails at that point, but yeah. Okay,
Uncharted 3 is actually fairly clear of that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
The weird bits are actually drug fueled.
4 doesn't have any, I don't think.
Okay, so maybe they're steering away from it as well.
No, 4 just has ridiculously organized pirates.
Okay.
Who are extremely good at engineering traps and shit that last for hundreds of years.
And corporations that still have thousands of dudes somehow.
Thousands of dudes.
Yeah, like a mercenary army. That's okay. They're significant in Uncharted 4.
That's cool. Always up for a bit of that. Bit of diversity in my villains. Not all of them have to be British. Oh, Detective Pikachu does a bit of that as well.
Who is it?
And it's part of the mystery, but I can't really tell you.
Oh, okay.
That would be a spoiler. But there's a little bit of the
no, he's
There's a little bit of the accent might define whether this guy is good or bad about it.
Oh, okay. It's Hugh Laurie.
That's pretty funny. Actually, I don't know if that's funnier or less funnier than who it actually is.
Okay, fine.
No, it's less funny. It's definitely less funny.
More news.
More news. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones. Let's do that. Do you remember that?
Let's do that for 2 minutes because it's as much of a news story.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount there, but it's a game. They've showed it. It's been playable.
Did they show it? Oh no, yeah, they did.
They've showed it several times.
They showed that the one at E3 where they were talking about the PvP in the Indian Ocean.
I'm pretty sure it's been playable on the show floor as well.
Yeah.
I think people have had their hands on it.
Mostly a game.
Yeah, except it's not.
No.
It's been delayed indefinitely. Apparently the project lead left quite some time ago, and since then development has been struggling to the point where they're like, I don't know.
Because everyone's working on Beyond Good and Evil 2, presumably.
Except they're not, are they? Beyond Good and Evil 2 has a skeleton crew working on it.
Whatever that means to Ubisoft, though.
Yeah.
It's 500 people.
It's probably still half a small country. But yeah, I reckon, it's one of those things where I don't think Ubisoft would think that the loss of that is too bad because they'll just use that boat tech in an Assassin's Creed game.
Or that boat tech just came from an Assassin's Creed.
It did originally,
so not like there was much work.
Well, I think it would be a feedback thing, right? They lifted it from Assassin's Creed, and they've probably been feeding that back into Origins.
Yeah, but wasn't the whole point of this being a separate game to be we can just make a boat game and not have to come up with some weird reason for Assassin's Creed to be on a boat.
Yes. And only be on boats was the thing as well. So we don't need any of that land crap.
So what's happening with it exactly?
It's delayed indefinitely, so probably cancelled.
Oh, okay. Canned. Yeah.
Probably canned. Shelved is a good word.
It looked like it was practically finished when they showed it.
I know. That's the thing. It's like it's been in development for quite a while now. We've seen it for quite a while.
I mean,
especially given that most of it is like code copied from Assassin's Creed, presumably. You'd think it would be pretty straightforward to get that out.
It felt like what For Honor felt like, where it's like it looked like a finished game, but there wasn't much content. And that turned out to be the case.
Well, yeah, maybe they could have just released it like as a budget title and then upgraded it, or do their sort of support plan that they've done with their other games.
Yeah, do what they did with For Honor, where they actually supported it for quite a long time and put more stuff in.
For Honor and Rainbow Six have had one hell of a support tail, right? And Rainbow Six is huge.
I mean, they even made that little Eagle flight game out of the Assassin's Creed Paris map. Like, it's not like there isn't precedent for like reusing bits.
No, Ubisoft. I actually think Ubisoft are pretty good at that. They reuse stuff, but they tend to do it in fairly intelligent ways. That's mild news, I suppose. Pretty much like this next one.
Also mild news.
Yeah, because Activision are deciding to break from their Call of Duty cadence. Not by not shipping a game. There's still going to be one. So this year's is heavily rumored. The Infinity Ward game is heavily rumored to be a new Modern Warfare game.
Yeah.
So Price and Woods. And so
God, I hope not. Just make a new story.
Characters. God damn it.
Oh no, Woods is Black Ops, isn't it? But Price, yeah. Price and Soap.
He's got to be gone by now, right?
I don't know. I can't remember.
They'll probably be like set it in the 80s again. Still modern, but like now we're in the past. Make up a new friend that ties into all those other friends.
So that's likely to be this year's game. But this is about the 2020 game, which would normally have handed to Sledgehammer and Raven, who last put out Call of Duty World War II. Apparently, so the story goes that Raven and Sledgehammer haven't got on very well for quite some time, and the two studios have kind of been fighting. And as a result of that, the new Call of Duty the 2020 Call of Duty has been suffering. So what Activision has decided to do is bump Treyarch into their leadership role for the 2020 COD game, and it's now highly likely that will be a Black Ops 5. 1 year early, which is a bit odd. It's the first time they've broken from their system, and it's also that's a faster turnaround for one of those games, which is actually kind of probably totally reasonable because Black Ops don't make story anymore.
Yeah, it's just a battle royale.
To the battle royale, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
might not even be a new game. They might just update the old one.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. Well, I think they will put out a new one because Black Ops 4, I'll talk about it a bit later, but Black Ops 4 follows the old strategy of like there are DLC packs and things like that, which you can only support for so long because it fragments your player base. They want you to buy games. It's Activision's model. They still want you to buy games. Although
unlike
apparently
EA, who wants you to buy a service, right?
Yeah, although apparently the rumor mill is saying that Activision have been starting to consider Black Ops or COD in general as a more free-to-play thing, and that there may be a free-to-play element to to this year's game. So who knows? Anyway, just COD news. Just COD. Just give us. Speaking of like weird publishers, sort of publisher stuff. Talk to us about Epic. What have they done now?
What have Epic done this time?
Oh, Epic.
Yep, the standard segment of this news that we always come to. How have Epic fucked up this week? And apparently the answer is by having a sale, which you'd think would be good, but no.
I mean, the sale itself isn't actually a terrible idea. It's entirely like store-wide. There's no exceptions.
Well, that's where the problems start.
Yeah, and with a sort of hard and fast rule that if the game is above, was it 15 odd quid in the UK, that if it's above that barrier, you'll get a £10 discount. But it's like excluding DLC and add-ons and V-Bucks.
For however many of those there are in the Epic Store at the moment.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, that's actually a somewhat decent idea. It's like whether that makes... I mean, you can get Hades for like a $5 if you wanted to.
You could.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
No, Hades is still on the list.
I don't think it is.
Isn't it?
They bumped... Oh, no, they were the one who bumped their price back up.
Oh, yeah, Hades, yeah. Supergiant. Is it Supergiant or Supermassive? I can't remember.
Supergiant.
So, yeah, Supergiant bumped their price to reduce the impact of the sale.
Yeah, so that's basically what this controversy is about. Basically, developers didn't like that... Because... So the whole point of this sale is that, like, you get that £10 discount, but Epic is paying for it, basically. The developers still get the same amount of money on their end per sale. Epic's just making up the difference.
Right. Weird.
In theory. But the whole problem with that is that some developers don't want their game to go on sale because it's a perception thing. And particularly for example, a vampire game that got discounted, but it's not even out yet.
So there's, pre-purchasers count in this as well. Like, so Hades is obviously early access.
So if you were to see that game for the price it is now in pre-release and then see the price go up when it actually comes out.
The other weird thing was that apparently if you've bought a early access game already, and that price was, you're going to get refunded directly to your account, that £10.
So you can spend it again.
Yeah.
And Epic can get that money back.
But they said refunded, refunded to your account. Like, not, like, I don't think that's to your Epic account. They were wording it like it would actually just be in your money.
I bet it's to your Epic account.
I bet it's to your Epic account as well. But the wording of the statement was that they were like, it's a proper refund. And it's like, that's, and Epic are paying for that as well.
Yeah.
It's weird. But it's another sign that just how much money Epic are throwing around.
All their money. But yeah, the devs, several different devs didn't like it and did different things, like removing their game, moving their game from the store, or increasing their base price to counteract the sale price.
Yeah, the two games in particular that got removed were the upcoming Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Yep, the second one.
One hell of a bloody name. And Oxygen Not Included.
Yeah,
drop themselves from the store, and they'll bring themselves back when the sale's done.
I mean, again, they're not only in early access; they're literally about to come out in a week.
Yeah,
so they probably don't want their launch price to be fucked up by a sale at this point.
Yeah, the timing for them is a bit unfortunate, I think. It's an odd approach. I kind of commend Epic for trying to be like, "Hey, it's a sale. Everything is cheap." And it's like, but that never really flies for games that are about to launch. That is the wrinkle that is odd.
Yes. And other reasons that you might not want and also, like, it was a price cut that was across the board as the same thing and like decided on by Epic, whereas obviously the Steam sales, the developers choose the percentages themselves, and they can choose it based on how much their game costs.
Yeah,
which is the important part of
they
that.
They can do it in percentages and all that stuff. It's a little bit. It's definitely on the publishers. It's in the publisher's control on Steam and on Humble and on Gold
and on everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere else it's like the publishers can choose what they want to do. But here it wasn't. To me, it sounds like the Epic Store is still very, very under-engineered.
Yep.
In that this was we want to do a sale, but we haven't got the platform ready to do it yet. How do we do this?
Yeah, they don't have the ability for developers to set their own sale prices or anything like that yet. So we'll just do it.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. That this is some poor software team was given the task of how do we do this? And they're like, oh god,
we can write basically one line of code that just takes the checkout value and reduces it by £10.
Kind of, but then they had to do the refund layer as well, I suppose. So there's a bit more work there, but it's bizarre. I don't know if I've ever heard of this happening quite like that. I suppose it's weird in the sense that it's not really outside of the digital domain, this isn't a problem, right? Like any brick and mortar store can just turn around and go, because we're selling everything
because they've already bought the product.
Yeah,
so that they need to get rid of products, so they would sell it cheap,
and it'll probably only for the most part, the chances of that sale are probably going to be limited to maybe a few stores, unless someone like Game does it, or that Tesco's thing I missed out on when I was trying to, like, when Soul Calibur 6 was like a tenner.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I want some of that. Oh, it's all gone.
Limited stock.
Yeah. That
and already purchased stock.
Yeah, that definitely dampens the effect of these things when there's like physical supply. Yeah, weird one.
So that's what Epic's been doing this week.
Yay.
Tune in next podcast to find out how fucked up things continue to be. I'm really hoping that there won't be any Epic news next podcast. Let's have 2 weeks where nothing fucked up happens.
Okay, that's Epic news. In harmonious news, though, now Sony and Microsoft announced a kind of alliance, strategic partnership.
Sort of, yeah. I was just looking, but that was my next note on the list, and it's like hilariously
your note doesn't have anything to say.
Hilariously incomplete, because I think that's when Zach invaded my house and I stopped typing.
I mean, all it seems to be is like it's very high level. I think they're basically teaming up on the cloud stuff, so Sony will use the Azure stuff in order to combat presumably Google Stadia, although they're not saying that, but it makes sense because it's mutually beneficial, I think, probably. I don't know.
Streaming thing sucked.
Yeah, I mean they'll keep their.
It depends how the deal works,
separated.
Right?
Yeah, but in terms of like technology.
Yeah, I mean, like Sony obviously don't own their own cloud platform like Google do. No. Microsoft obviously had the leg up there. Sony could have gone through Amazon, I guess, to do this kind of stuff, but who's to say that Amazon probably aren't going to be thinking about their own solution? In fact, the signs are there that they probably are. Yeah, so there's probably not a deal to be done there.
They're creepier than Microsoft these days.
Who, Amazon?
Yeah.
Or Google? Or
Amazon. Both. Yeah, arguably both. But yeah.
There are those walkouts happening, aren't they, at Google every now and then now? Like like staff are actually kind of starting to fight Google a bit because they want their "Don't Be Evil" claim to come back.
Yeah, I can't remember what the latest thing was. It comes in waves, doesn't it?
Yeah, the last thing I read is that there was some sort of walkout. I can't remember what about exactly, but then there's like the internal politics of making all the staff that walked out feel like they're being retaliated against and being like, which is illegal. That they're now being shunned and pushed onto projects and trying to be forced out of the organization and things like that. And it's like, yeah, this isn't a good look, Google. They're all a bit creepy. Microsoft are just the scrappy underdogs at this point, weirdly.
Even they've got a pile of cash.
Yeah. They broke $1 trillion, didn't they, finally?
Oh, I should probably talk to you, Rob, about the Microsoft build stuff, because that was kind of interesting from a programming perspective.
Oh, I haven't paid attention, so I don't know what's
okay. Well, it's not really for this podcast, but the Linux subsystem for Windows thing.
Oh yes, I did see that.
Yeah, they've totally they've boosted that massively by making it like a full-on little VM that's actually running. And you can pick your flavor of Linux. And so, it still has you go, I want Ubuntu today in my little Windows subsystem. And it has all of the same hooks or whatever to the Windows file system. And at the same time, they announced with a ridiculous YouTube hype video, like as if it was like a new tablet or something. They launched a new terminal application that's actually not shit.
But I have a bit of a problem with it because they've got so many of them. They've got console, they've got PowerShell.
No, but I mean the actual terminal app, like instead of CMD,
they're replacing console,
or not,
right?
You know what I mean? The actual,
CMD is the one.
Yeah, not the shell, but now this does mean there's CMD shell, there's PowerShell, and there's the full Linux environment.
So is the new terminal for the Linux environment?
It's for all of them. Yeah, right. You can just switch. Yeah. But it's got emojis in it. Hooray! That's literally one of the reasons I don't want to dev on a Windows machine is I can't get emojis in my terminal output. So that's good.
I could not give a monkeys.
I know, it's cool. Trust me, it's cool. Anyway, never mind.
Well, there was that thing a little while back where what did they call it? Was it just tabs or something like that? It had a funky name where they were trying to put on top of the basic, well, the Windows windowing layer, this ability to tab anything in anything. So like you could tab Windows apps together, or tab Explorer windows together, or things like that. I forget what it was called. Sets. That's what it was called. They were calling it sets.
That sounds pretty cool.
That got abandoned because it proved too complicated.
Oh, fair enough.
Because of Win32 apps that break the rules.
I mean, it sounds hard.
Like Chrome, for instance.
Yeah, sure.
And to a certain extent, like their own products, like Edge, which break the rules to do what it does. But they were going to use Edge as the model for things. The one product that I think is going to keep, that they've said is going to keep it, is console. Is CMD.
Weird. Okay.
So that's strange.
And now they've got a new terminal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite
bizarre.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I hadn't realized is, I mean, you've probably known this for a while, but .NET Core is the new .NET with 5, right? And they're deprecating old .NET, which is a bit of a shake really cool. Sorry.
I mean, you say that, it's kind of cool. It's like in my world, that's a headache.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, it's problematic.
But yeah, it's still cool. Anywho, that's Dev Talk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's clearly where it was always going. Yeah. We always knew this day would come, but it's just headed that way a bit quicker than we thought.
Got to get through that pain.
Yeah. But no, that means you got to it's not get through that pain in our world. That's rewrite your bloody application at some point.
Right. Yeah.
It's that serious, or or it could involve that level of like, oh yeah, half this stuff doesn't work anymore. Great.
Sure. Yeah.
All these libraries don't work anymore. Wonderful. Maybe it's just that's the problem. Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, what else we got? Super Mario Maker Direct. Did you guys watch that? I haven't seen it.
Zach has. I didn't.
Yes, it was another short one. Naturally, I mean, it was only Mario Maker. There wasn't any other. They do another one of those mini directs that they do. Except I'm not sure it was even called a direct. I guess it was.
Yeah, they advertised it as a Mario Maker 2 direct.
Yes,
like in the same way they did for the Pokemon thing.
Yeah, and it was just as short, I guess.
So what's the takeaways? What are the bullet points?
It's exactly what you expect, I guess. Apart from
that's a bullet point.
Apart from a couple of slightly weird options, like for example, if you're doing, you can create a level in co-op, which for a start is like, how is that even going to be useful?
I mean, that's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, but like you're operating within one screen. It's like how?
Are you?
Well, yes.
You're not like linking.
No, it's not two switches, and you can only use sideways Joy-Cons. It very specifically showed the choose your controller screen, and it's like, no, you can't use a Pro controller or both Joy-Cons. You have to use sideways.
That sounds half-assed.
Yep.
That's weird.
So, okay. I mean, not actually useful in any way.
Dual switching sounds like the...
Yeah, two switches with like, so you could look at totally different parts of the level at the same time.
And you could both use the touchscreen, and like, that sounds like the obvious choice.
I mean, maybe that will still happen. You know, they didn't really...
that's the thing. I bet that won't, because they've announced this. That's not going to happen. Well, like, this is what they thought their solution was.
They didn't really announce that. It was like they briefly showed the controller select screen and said you can use two Joy-Cons. They didn't exclude there being other ways to do that.
So they didn't make a particularly big deal of this. Okay. All right. That potentially saves it. Still odd that they showed that and not.
Yeah,
if there was going to be a dual switching,
then... that would be a bit of more dramatic thing to show.
Man, that's got me hyped for a feature that doesn't exist. Like, that's frustrating.
And they showed the equivalent of the Miiverse posts, I guess.
Oh right, yeah.
Where like you can insert a tag in the level where a thing pops up, and it's weird because they the first bit they showed had like. I'm not sure what they even call them because it's not like they're emoticons or something. It's like pre-drawn art of like Mario characters
like
doing things, like Toad saying "Oh no" and stuff.
Oh no!
Kind of like the stickers in the past, yeah, but more detailed and like fully rendered pictures. And it showed this selection screen where it's like, oh no, there are only like 16 different things you can put. But then after that, they very briefly showed that end of level screen where it shows them scrolling past, and it looks like there's ones that are hand drawn on there. So it still might at least have the proper full functionality in a sort of Splatoon 2-esque way, where even though the Miiverse doesn't exist, that still exists somehow.
They put their own system together. Yeah.
So that's good, I guess.
I mean, I guess I don't think in Mario Maker that's like hugely what I think I'd be after. Like they might be funny at spots.
Yeah, you're only looking for the funny ones.
Yeah.
It's not like you're looking for help. Except maybe you could do if you if you found a particularly a level which had one of the unusually difficult tricks in it. Someone could maybe
could tell you the trick.
Yeah, make a little diagrammatic instruction and put it in the level.
That would be kind of cool.
I'm not sure people will, but
No, I highly doubt it, but it's kind of cool.
And the only other thing that was, there was a lot of stuff where it's like, here's the new enemies and the new bits and pieces and Angry Sun, as you do.
Oh, no.
Yep, and all that kind of stuff. But the only other thing that was slightly interesting is when they showed the new Super Mario... 3D World, not new Super Mario Bros. That was already
the
there.
3D World 2D theme.
Yes, when they showed the new 3D World stuff in there.
Cat Mario.
Oh, yeah, and Cat Mario and all that. It's in a separate category because it's not compatible. You can't do the switch between the themes like you can with the other ones, where the stuff transfers between the different themes.
Right.
Where it's like a sprite changes.
That sort of makes some sense.
3D World is completely separate, so it raises your level if you switch.
Right. So it has different physics as well as...
they all kind of have different physics. Like, new Super Mario has wall jumps and all that stuff, so
right.
It's still but it's not. It doesn't work on the same tile set system, I guess. Maybe. I guess
so oddly more flexible, maybe.
Yeah, I guess 3D World has like a lot of background objects and stuff that kind of operate in a slightly different way.
Yeah,
that you wouldn't be able to use in the other 2D sets.
I see. So. Yeah, because they showed some of this in the original trailer, didn't they? Like bullet bills coming from forwards, the background. Yeah. Okay, that kind of makes sense. It would have been interesting to see
how they did that in sprites.
Yeah.
Yes, that would have been kind of interesting.
But I can see why they made that decision.
But then the slightly weird thing about that is that it's in a separate category by itself, and it's like that's kind of weird. Like, what else could go in that category?
Like regular Mario or weird 3D World Mario?
Like, what else could you do?
Mario 2.
I mean,
that's a category.
I don't think it is, though. I think that would still be capable of being a tile-switched one.
No, but you'd have all the different moves and
It's not that different, though. It's no more different than the wall jump is in New Super Mario Bros.
You'd have turnip pulling and being able to stand on things and pick them up. And
maybe it would be... I guess you'd have to have certain enemies that would act differently in Mario 2, but I still think you could do that with a tile set switch. Although, weirdly, another thing that was like another one of these very subtle someone looked at this trailer far too long things is there's an enemy from 3D World that I'm not... I did play those games, so I'm not aware of this enemy, but it's a specific enemy of that game. And it does have a sprite version in one of the other sets. So there is maybe some crossover, but not really. Like, you can get some of the elements of 3D World back in the sprite, but maybe not all of it. And like maybe switching up if you're in the editor, just that is what causes it to erase. But there are still 3D World elements you can use in the 2D set. Maybe.
Interesting. Hey, you know what? Weird trivia I learned, maybe you already know. I saw a copy of the Japanese copy of Super Mario Bros. All Stars.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, and they call it's got Mario 2 on it.
Yeah. Which is actual Mario 2.
Yeah, which is weird because that wasn't called that in Japan. No. So they call it Super Mario Bros. USA.
Yes.
It's like I didn't realize that. I mean, it makes sense. They had to give it a different name.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they just straight up called it USA.
So when was that released then? At the same time? No, I mean, I was just wondering if Super Mario Bros. USA had a Japanese release. No,
because I don't think Super Mario Bros. USA actually got a NES release in Japan
at all. No.
Because they had Doki Doki Panic, which is what the game was based on.
Yeah.
So on the NES, I don't think they got it. So when All Stars launched, they didn't bother making two different versions. Like, really,
renamed it.
Yeah, they just brought over the version, Super Mario 2 in the US version and called it Super Mario USA.
Well, I mean, there was a couple of games that had the USA being tagged on, like the Final Fantasy 1, whatever that was called, Mystic Quest.
Oh, really?
I don't really understand how, even in the 80s, Super Mario Brothers 2, i.e. the Lost Levels, could ever have been popular if it's that brutal.
It's weird, isn't it? And it's just that, and it is basically the first game just with more. It's an expansion, really. Calling it 2 is odd.
I don't think that is odd though for the time.
For the time, yeah, you might be right.
Just make a new game with the same engine.
But normally there's something more different than that. But no, it is identical, just with new layouts,
which are absolute bullshit, right?
Oh yeah, lots of hidden blocks.
Have you played it?
Mario Maker, though.
Who played it? Did you play it, Zeg?
No. Well, I'm sure I played part of it at some point.
I think I've dabbled with it at some point over the years, and just thought, wow, okay, this is pretty tricky. I haven't. And this was, of course, during the point where I hadn't really completed a proper Mario game.
Well, yes, exactly.
Before, and so
finished the original first.
Yeah, I was like, no, maybe I won't play that and play this. I'd rather play Super Mario 3.
Exactly. And I think that was more or less everything that I remember being important from that Mario Maker thing. It seems like mostly exactly what you'd expect. So good.
That was good. Yeah.
Sweet.
Wait, they did briefly also show that it maybe still has the same kind of upload system. There was a code.
Right.
There was a limited set of levels. Also, they didn't show if you can make a world, string together a set of levels specifically. So that may not still exist, which is disappointing for some people.
But it may still exist. So
yes, we don't actually know for certain.
And that's not the end of the news.
No, that's not the end of the news.
Very briefly, E3 news. Activision aren't having a booth at E3. Nothing really fancy there. They'd only be showing CoD anyway.
Yep.
They can put that somewhere else. EA have said that their weird 2-day streaming thing is now only going to be 1 day. So maybe slightly more concise content for someone to make highlight reels of.
Yes, okay. Some people can talk over potentially.
That might be
in a reasonable frame of time.
Yeah. But then take us through this last one, Zach.
Well, in parallel to the ongoing Epic controversies where they won't stop dumb bullshit happening, Borderlands 3, more bullshit happening on that side.
Well, more specific, sort of a bit more Borderlands, but of course it's Randy Pitchford.
Yes, it's more like Gearbox than Borderlands. Slightly related to Borderlands because it's the voice actor of Claptrap, who's not in Borderlands 3. And then he went on Twitter and said why, which is that basically they didn't want to pay him. Or they didn't want to pay him. He said they didn't want to pay him to do it again. And then Gearbox came, or Randy Pitchford, not Gearbox, because this is the PR disaster that Randy Pitchford is.
Yeah, because Randy Pitchford doesn't let his team do anything.
He came back and said that they offered him twice as much money as he got previously, which was basically not. It's previously they were Gearbox employees anyway, doing the voices in Borderlands. So it was it wasn't like it was a special gig. It was more just this specific, do this bit of work. So they were like, yeah, we'll pay you an actual fee because you're not part of Gearbox any longer. But he didn't like it. And then the voice actor came back and was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have taken that 12 million for yourself into that secret bank account and physically abused me in a hotel at some point.
Ooh.
And then,
salty
Twitter wars.
Oh, Randy.
So yes, basically this voice actor, after being talked shit about, decided to talk shit back more.
Yeah.
And then Randy Pitchford got in some more controversy, as he does. Accusations and then maybe legal battles, and we'll probably never hear about anything about it ever again.
No, probably not. But
standard procedure.
It's getting to the point where I can't. This whole with all the stuff about Randy, and I don't want to defend the guy. I don't like him, but it's just it's getting to the point where it's hard to know if a story like this is believable because it's Randy,
right,
or a bit of a cash grab because it's Randy.
Yeah, I mean,
and that it sounds so totally plausible.
It's completely not possible to tell the difference anymore.
Yeah,
make up any story. Include Randy Pitchford,
and it's believable.
Yeah,
oh, man. I remember seeing him.
I don't like how that sounded because I really don't want to defend the guy.
No.
But it's just.
I remember seeing him being an idiot in person, and he seemed like a bit of a dick. Because I went to this event at BAFTA when he was promoting Duke Nukem Forever. I don't even know why.
Right.
Like my brother must have got tickets or something. It was really weird. Anyway, yeah, you could tell.
He's just odd. He's just odd. Have you seen the No Clip Half-Life documentary?
Yeah.
Like, he comes across as a bit odd even in that. Like, and he's not even that out of line there. No. It's like it's actually a relatively decent set of interviews, but there's still something off, right?
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh wait, I forgot. There's one more actually important.
Breaking news! Oh snap!
The news about Epic again.
No,
I forgot about the other bit of Epic controversy this week. There was another game that was not kickstarted; it was on Fig that got funded and said it was going to come out on Steam, and then got into Epic exclusivity.
No, not another one of these.
Yep, there was another one, and it's quite an indie game again. So same situation.
Do we know what it is?
It's called Outer Wild, but not Outer Worlds. Don't get those two mixed up.
Yes, yeah, no, okay, I'm familiar. Yeah, the not Obsidian one.
Yes, not the Outer Worlds, which is an Obsidian.
Yeah,
it's a different game, an indie game, Outer Wilds.
Yeah, that's.
But yeah,
the Outer Wilds. I think Wilds actually has a bit of a buzz about it.
Apparently,
I hear it comes up like, and I'm not particularly familiar with it, to be honest. But like I hear about it quite frequently.
Well, the thing is, it was funded on Fig a long time ago, like several years. So the obvious thing is like maybe they underestimated how much money they needed, and they were running out of money, so they would like, oh, Epic will just give us some money. But then they didn't really think about what that meant for backers and and all that situation with going off of Steam. So yeah, people were pissed.
Yep. As they probably would be, because it hasn't even appeared. It's not like the other circumstances where it appeared on Steam and the people who wanted it on Steam are still going to get it on Steam.
Well, I don't think they've made a proper statement about, honouring agreements or whatever.
Well, no, because if it's never been on Steam, there's no agreement to honour.
There is on the backing on Fig, though.
Sure, but...
Where especially for Fig, because it's more than Kickstarter, because Fig is a bit more, like, legally binding than Kickstarter generally is.
Yeah, I guess, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know, but like just... I think that one's less... I reckon they'd be more allowed to get away with that than the other ones. Like, because it's never been on Steam. It's like, it's not even probably got anywhere near to being on Steam.
I mean, that whole area of the Kickstarting-esque situation does give you a bit more leeway to be like changing the terms, and rather than a thing that has appeared on the Steam store and then gets removed from the Steam store. So there's that, and that's the end of the news for real.
For realsies this time.
You know what time it is?
Do I?
It's about halfway through this podcast.
It's time for what you've been playing. I'm going to ask Seg this time what he's been playing.
That's helpful because I haven't really got that much to talk about.
Neither have I, really, to be honest. This could be a short
Well, you both got more than me, so it's going to be a short one.
Great. I can always talk forever. That's my special skill.
This is true. When you start, getting you to start talking may be difficult outside of the podcast, but when you start, snowballs.
Snowballs. Canals. I mostly continued to fiddle with Oxygen Not Included. I did do something slightly different though, because in the game that I had been playing, I got to like the start of the space thing, which is basically as far as I've ever got. I've never got deep into the space thing because it's a whole situation. It gets quite a lot of resource intensive at that point. Also for my computer, not just in the game. But I got to that same point again, and I was like, well, I could continue, but this map is going to be eliminated when the release version changes all the map generation, so I might as well not go any further than I've got before. But what I did do was go into a different thing, because I don't know when they included this option. I think it was maybe a couple of patches ago. But there are like different map options that generate different types of worlds, except they're not really very fully fleshed out. They're like quite you can tell that it's just like been a thing that someone has hacked together at some point in the background, and they just said, "Oh, we may as well just throw this in." There's one which makes a circular asteroid, and that's why you can tell that that's weird, because like there's a background around where the normal terrain would be, except it's not there.
Oh, weird.
Which looks kind of weird, but there's that one, and then there's also one where it's basically the same shape as the normal map, except everywhere outside the starting area is just ice biome.
Okay.
Which is, I decided to play that one because it's kind of interesting, because it basically inverts the usual problem of heat.
Yeah, I was about to say, so if it's ice and there's your heat management could just all pump into it.
Well, yeah, but now you've got the exact opposite problem where you're actually having to keep heat in, because otherwise everything will get too cold and you'll just die that way.
Okay, right.
So it actually sort of, you start using some of the things that you don't normally use, like the radiator and stuff, to actually make extra heat, and various other ways to keep the heat in your base. So it was kind of an interesting thing to just play that map and be like, oh, this is a kind of an inversion of the usual thing. And it also has another slightly different effect where, because the only biome in the map is the ice biome, you also don't get any of the resources of the other types of biome, like the slime biome and the chlorine biome. So you have to work around that to try and get the stuff that you still need, which previously wouldn't have been possible, because if there's only ice biome, there's no way to get reed fiber, which you need to make the spacesuits. So there wouldn't have been any way to get spacesuits, except now, because you can get certain things through the portal, you can basically get a starter of not reed fibers, you get a specific type of animal that grows hair, which is equivalent to the reed fibers, basically. But you can get that through the portal, so there is a way now to get the reed fibers that you normally wouldn't have been able to get on that map, which makes it more possible to actually play that game on that map for most of the game. There's still a few things you can't do. You can't ever get any chlorine. I think ever, because I don't think any of the space planets have chlorine on them either. I think, although I haven't seen all the planets.
Is there that system with the weird? I don't know. We'll get the thing where you get items out of a gate. I can't remember.
Yeah, the portal.
The portal. Oh, there's the portal. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm calling. Can you not get chlorine out of the portal?
No, it's a limited set of items. And there was a certain type of plant I was hoping for, and I was like, I haven't seen it ever. I'll just look up the actual game file. Someone's scanned the game files and tells you exactly what you can get out of the gate. I'll just look it up, and it turns out you can't get that specific type of plant. So I was like, oh well, I'm never going to be able to cook this meat properly. So everyone's just going to have to eat raw meat. Which seems like kind of there should be a step there. The only options you have are raw meat and barbecue, but in order to make the barbecue, you have to have this spice plant, and you can't get the spice plant on this cold biome map because it doesn't come through the portal and it only spawns in the chlorine zone. So raw meat for everyone.
Why can't you cook your meat?
Yeah, exactly. There should be a middle step in that, you would think. Just generic cooked meat, not barbecue style.
Yeah, that's weird.
But I mean, there's no downside to eating raw meat in terms of
just to get in a hot
illness
room.
Or whatever.
You can't have a hot room, just put your meat in there.
Well, you have literally an electric grill where you do your normal cooking.
Well, they could go on there.
Yep, you'd think so, but no. But it doesn't matter, because there's no actual danger to raw meat.
Oh, okay.
It's just
not as nutritious.
Yes, it just doesn't give you a nice bonus. It gives you a 0 or
nice
or a -1 maybe on morale. I don't remember, but yeah. So I played some of that map, solving new problems. That's what I want.
Good.
Because you can't there's also, because there's no oil biome at the bottom of the map. There's no way to get oil. So there is a way to get oil. There's one type of creature that you can get from the portal that can turn carbon dioxide into oil very slowly. But that creature then needs to, in order to survive, it has to be in a 70-degree room. Then you're like, okay, so not only am I having to keep the cold out of my base, I'm also actually having to very specifically even more heat up this one specific part of my base to keep them alive so they can make the oil that I'll need for jetpacks and rockets in the future.
I mean, when you talk about creating new puzzles for you to solve, How do you feel when something like Satisfactory adds vertical conveyor belts?
I was kind of sad about that in some ways because I like doing those spiral belts.
I thought you might.
Convenience, no.
Yeah.
But functionally, it's the same, right? It's just like it doesn't take nearly as long to build.
Maybe it uses less resources or something because you're building it up.
Well, I mean, you're hoping it's balanced.
Is there like a power requirement or something?
Well, yeah, I guess it could be powered. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, spiral belts were cool looking.
They look kind of mental, don't they?
But not logical in any way. If you were going to have a conveyor belt-based factory, you'd probably build conveyor belt elevators, and that would be a way better solution.
Yeah,
and that was obviously not included, I guess. It did that, and maybe after next podcast it should be out. I think 28th. That would be before the next podcast.
Oh, was that what? Like out?
Yeah, version 1. I mean, not like they're going to stop updating it.
Right? Yeah. Of course, it had to be soon because of the Epic Store thing. Got you.
But we'll see those new biomes. That's what I'm interested in. See what comes with that patch. And I played some more Rocket League, I guess. I had another one of those nights where I was like, it's a new season, it's been a new season for a little while.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
The new one kicked in.
Yes. Remember we talked about that last time where we were like, well, they've had a short one this time for no apparent reason.
I didn't realise it had actually finished.
And also Rocket Pass, obviously. But
yeah, I need to play more of that.
To
play more of it. However, I've just been so my last couple of weeks have been so mental.
Yes,
and I've been so tired at night. Like actually sitting down for a big old multiplayer session has not been on the front of my mind.
So I played some more of that, but I had one of those nights where I went on. My rank was like Diamond 3, mid to high Diamond 3, and I was like, oh, maybe tonight I can finally make a push towards getting into champion, and then immediately losing champion because I can never stay in champion. But no, what actually happened was every single teammate I had for the entire night was so shit, and my rank went straight down to the bottom of Diamond 1, very nearly into platinum.
Lemons.
And I was like, what the fuck? How is everyone so bad tonight?
Lemons.
I think I had like literally one slightly good teammate. And it was very noticeable. I was like, holy shit, that guy is like in decent positions and he's making passes to me and I'm receiving passes from me. This is actually working for a moment. And then it didn't work at all for the whole rest of the evening.
Party up.
Yeah. Other than they announced that they're going to make partying up like a thing that you can do.
Yeah, because it's always been odd that it's sort of missing.
Yes. I guess it will be like a post-game scoreboards thing. Hit a button and invite them. Now that they have a whole fake in-game friends list thing to do that with, I guess.
Yeah. There's that nice system in Overwatch that I've always quite liked where at the end of a match you just click a button and it says Glacial Spoon wants to remain a team.
Yeah.
And then everyone else, the other players can opt in if they want, and they'll keep them together.
And they even tried to do that in Team Fortress when they went to matchmaking.
Oh,
where,
did they?
Like at the end of the map, you can vote to stay in the server and have the actual people stay in the server rather than everyone just quitting. But everyone just quits, so irrelevant.
Yeah, that is still the problem in Overwatch. In fairness, like most people just quit out, even if they then say, "Oh, I'm joining a team," they'll then just quit out.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, but don't you want your sweet 10% experience bonus?
It was so irrelevant when they put that in Rocket League as well, where it's just like, oh, you get a bonus if you stay in the server over multiple games. No one in casual ever stays for more than one game. They just all quit.
Nope. No, they barely stay for a goal.
Yeah, they barely stay for one game. They leave as soon as the goal goes in. Immediately.
No, I'm leaving this one. It's done. This game's done.
It's so annoying.
It is really annoying. Sometimes I don't want to play ranked. But it's the only
But sometimes you get that in ranked anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. That
People vote for it at any moment.
Especially in solo ranked.
Yeah. Yes. I did have on the evening where everything was going real badly, I did have a game where we were actually winning for a change, and someone on our team still voted to forfeit because someone made a mistake and they were pissed. It's just like, we're still winning. There's no need to be a bitch about it.
Are we? Right. Is Rocket League about to become like? I mean, it's been getting pretty bad steadily, but is the tipping point coming?
No, I think that's just what the mid to high diamond is always like, from what my experience. There's always people like that at that level. They think they're good, but they're not.
This is sort of the problem, and that I kind of feel like I have a better time with Rocket League when my rank slips.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. There's something a bit. Well, my solo rank is still pants because you can't predict anyone.
No.
And, I don't know how you raise that one up really. Particularly, it's so hard. But it's but I kind of some nights I just have a better time in there than I do when we're playing. Like not because just because our rank as a duo is much higher than my solo.
Well,
rank.
Yeah, that's the trick.
Yeah,
I guess.
I can be a bit of a knob in solo rank and still end up being the best player.
Yeah, the idea is in theory that because you're theoretically better than those people, you could actually do crazier things and not feel restricted as much.
I actually think even though it's ranked, I care a little less, so I try more. Like I go, and because it's 3-player rather than duos, it's like that helps. Can be a bit more mad, and so I end up having a bit more of a decent time with it.
Yes, the mid to high diamond is the tier of people being babies and people trying to do skill moves and just getting shit on constantly. It's like people just trying to dribble or flick balls downwards off the ceiling and stuff. It's like it doesn't work. Everyone sees it coming.
Yeah, true, but like you see that quite a lot, don't you, in Pro Rocket League play the drop.
But not really though. That's the thing about like everyone thinks that these skills are like the hardcore skills, but no, like if you watch Pro Rocket League, no one ever dribbles.
No one dribbles.
That's literally a useless skill at that level.
Yeah, no one dribbles. That's true.
And like the ceiling drop stuff is slightly useful, but it's still incredibly situational. And you because the trouble with the ceiling drop for the super high tiers is it's quite a slow thing.
Yeah.
Like the ball has to like kind of float, and you have to kind of follow it. With the ball speeds in higher tier stuff, you don't get as much opportunity to set that up. But yeah, you see it all the time in the high diamonds, where it's just like people trying to do fancy things and just failing. And then
that's because it's really hard. Like actually, to some degree, like not just to try that, but to actually have the coordination from the rest of the team to pull that off. But
the thing is, I never learned to dribble, and so I don't dribble, and I just do fine in diamonds. Yeah. It's like, you don't need these skills. Just play, like, sanely and competently. Don't try and be fancy.
I mean, it does foil us from time to time, the dribble, right? Like, every now and then there'll be a flick that just happens.
But I mean, I feel like I've got good enough at blocking most of... the thing that I think I'm good at in terms of dribbles is I see it coming real fast, and I'm just there. Right. I'm good at anticipating when they haven't got control of the ball fully and just going for it, which is the counter to that tier of dribbling.
Yeah, just bundle it. Which is my normal go-to, in fairness for that now. But
yeah,
like, dribble, go.
Yes. Because at that level, they might not have full control. If they do, you're kind of screwed. If they do get it right, then it still works. But there's still quite a high probability they won't get it right at that level.
Yeah. It's that final third dash that I still struggle with. Like that's it. I think that's the one that foils me the most of the time, where it's like you're roughly equidistant from each other. It's balls floating in the air in the final third towards your goal. And the probability of you getting to it just right is so low. But I see it late, is the thing. I'm already going for it at that point. It's like, damn it, I'm committed, I've got to go. But it's like, and I know I'm not going to get like high enough on my jump and things like that. It's like, I don't see that scenario early enough until it's already like, well, I'm boned now.
Yeah.
That is my number one defensive problem. That one thing.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Or
the timing of commitment, yeah.
Not enough or too much. Yep. The classic problem.
Yep. Anyway, Rocket League chat done.
Yep. And I don't remember anything else that I played. I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. I think that more or less covered it. There's been some interesting games I haven't played. There's been some interesting patches happening in Stormworks, so, that's always on the cards if we get back together for our multiplayer game. But I feel like we might have to start a new game because they changed, like, the research tree. Like how you unlock parts.
Right, so your previous games probably aren't valid. Or...
Yeah, well, it's not that they aren't valid, it's more like we might not have parts that it would have been real easy to get in a fresh game.
Right.
So it's just more like, and I think somehow in our game, in our save file, we ran out of money. And I think it was because because there's an annoying multiplayer glitch which makes like fuel lines like impossible to handle for client players. Like you just like get pulled around by them instead of being able to manage them.
Right. The physics works the wrong way around.
Yeah. Because of that, we turned off fuel, except you don't turn off fuel exactly. You make it so when the vehicle spawns, it just spawns full of fuel. But I think what that was doing was it was still charging us the equivalent amount of money as fuel it was putting in the tank.
Right.
And then when you despawn a vehicle, it doesn't really account for that. So you're essentially just losing money every time.
Right.
I think that's how we ran out of money, but I'm not sure.
That would make sense.
So we may have to start a new save file. But yeah, they made the most recent patch did some quite fancy stuff about, well, I mean, first of all, they put like a literal scripting language in the game. So you can write scripts inside the programmable blocks inside the game, which, other games have done that. Space Engineers, particularly, is a classic example. And then they also made like what are basically heads-up displays, like transparent blocks that you could also display pixels on, so you can actually make like full on heads-up displays for your jet fighter or whatever.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and some other things that I don't remember, but would seem like useful parts, not just like more parts, but like different parts where you're like, oh yeah, that I could. Right. Oh, I remember what it was. It was cameras. So you can now have properly remotely operated vehicles, like launch a submarine out of your ship, and it has a camera on it.
Neat.
Instead of you having to be in it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, that would be cool. Mainly because it's very difficult to make a small single man submarine. Much easier to not have to put a person in it and just have some batteries.
Yeah. Don't put a dude in, just go.
That might be cool.
Make your entire autonomous sea army.
Yeah. Don't even get on a boat. Just stay on the island and have just a bank of screens.
Yeah. That'd be badass.
But I can definitely see the multiplayer situation of being like a lot of programming and not much building happening for a while. It alternates between I just want to build a boat and I'm going to just basically now it will be actual programming. Before it was like I'll rig up a bunch of fucking logic gates to do a thing.
Sure, yeah. Whereas now you can actually just say, do this thing and it's exactly this way.
Yeah.
You can optimize the hell out of this.
Yeah. Might finally be able to replace my auto clutch that I designed with the logic circuits.
Make it a computerized clutch.
Well, I guess calling it a clutch is it was more like a choke. I don't know. It adjusted like the engine power depending on like the weight the helicopter was carrying. So like as you got heavier and it struggled to stay level like the correct height, it would increase the engine power to compensate. Which you'd think it would do automatically, but it doesn't fully automatically do it. So I made a little logic circuit thing, and I basically just slapped that in all of my helicopters. It's like, I'll just put that in there, it works.
Nice.
Don't have to think about it any longer. I built it once.
That's pretty neat.
So there's that. Maybe I'll get back to that. Maybe not. Maybe Factorio. Who knows?
Maybe.
We haven't played any multiplayer stuff for quite a while, so any of those games that we had been previously playing are definitely on the cards.
Right.
Rob, what have you played? Not much.
No, I've had a pretty poor week in terms of actual gameplay. Well, poor couple weeks really.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where I was at the last cast, which isn't helping.
Oh, I remember one thing that happened just slightly after. Oh no, it was last week, not after the last cast. That we talked about related to you and gaming.
Oh yeah, Smash Brothers. Oh, damn it.
I've been waiting for this moment for so long, and it's been so hard to just keep leading Rob on like this.
Oh, God.
What is this?
Right. So I've been thought for a long time, like I haven't played Smash World of Light for a while. Like I sort of left it alone, thinking that I was pretty close to the end.
Yeah.
Like I'd done most
fight
of the stuff,
the giant boss thing on the map.
Like it looked obvious, right? It's like here's the end, here's the boss. Like I've done all the work to get there. There's only a few things left on the map I haven't done. Oh, sod it, let's go and do it. Opens up a whole new giant sodding map.
Yep, you're literally only halfway through.
Oh my Oh man, I put so much time into this already. That's insane. Yeah. That is properly insane. I haven't played it since.
Well, yes, I mean that makes sense.
I was just kind of like, you are kidding me.
I mean, as I said when we were talking about it at the time, it's like I feel like that second half is like they get slightly more fancy with the map gimmicks. Like previously, it was like, oh, you get these little zones where it's like, here's the Street Fighter zone, and all the things are Street Fighter themed, and you fly a little plane around a map, and
which is kind of cool.
It's kind of cool. But then, like in the Dark World part, you get like now the map is a puzzle. Where it's like, here's a Castlevania map where you have to like collect silver cannonballs to destroy the Dracula bats that are obstructing you.
Put it down at. Like, I haven't tried much of that, but that's where
And then the Zelda map has like all these cryptic clues where it's like, move the hands to 12 o'clock, and then you have to like turn on certain objects in the world that trigger different paths to open. It's like, it becomes slightly more complicated.
I think it's, in a weird way, it feels like it's a bit late for you to be doing some of this cooler stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the pacing is so strange.
Yes, because there's a long period of just millions of spirit fights.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there also isn't millions of spirit fights in amongst these puzzles.
I guess maybe the problem was I thought that's all there was, and so I've been doing pretty much all of them, and I shouldn't have been, as it turns out. I could have like.
Well, I mean,
you want that 100% eventually.
You want to get them all anyway.
But I could probably have quite happily have just skipped a turn and come back to them.
Well, yeah, because you can theoretically get better spirits and then come back to the harder ones and make them easier and that kind of stuff. There were more options than you knew that you had.
I've been doing this all wrong.
Leveling up.
And I should have seen it coming as well, because I've got, only a small portion of the roster available.
Yeah, if you look at the spirits list and be like, where are all these spirits?
Yeah. Well, and just a small portion of the actual playable character roster.
Oh, in World of Light?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, because the mysterious thing where Rob somehow still doesn't have me Brawler.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because he's somewhere, I'm pretty sure he's on the Dark World map, you unlock him somewhere.
Yeah.
But Rob he doesn't appear in our multiplayer menu, which has all the other characters, because you just unlock them through...
But not me Brawler.
But not me Brawler.
Because I've never played him as him in any capacity, because he's a me character.
And he doesn't unlock through the character unlock system that the outside of World of Light game uses.
And they never get picked randomly either.
No. Which is kind of...
That is bad.
Yeah, I kind of wish it would.
That. Like...
I mean, obviously they have customizable movesets, so you'd still only get like one version of the mini moveset.
Well, they could pick from the if you've saved.
Well, if you've made multiple ones, yeah.
Yeah, they should just pick from them. But I suppose that creates a mild problem for random. But then they allow stage maker stages in the random stage selection. So yeah,
well, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, that happened. Ugh. I don't know if I'm ever finishing that game now.
Oh my god!
I'm trying to remember how much of that you have to do to get to the end. I think you might only have to do 1/3 of the Dark World map. If you go upwards, I think you only have to do that part. Although I don't really remember what happens to transition to the third map. Third map's much smaller.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, that thing is much bigger than it first appears.
Yes.
And it was already pretty big.
Yep. When you remember at the time when people were talking about 20 hours, now you know why.
I feel like I've probably put that much into it already.
Yeah. But you were just playing it at a normal person pace, not people who were playing a game and then it was still taking 20 hours.
I'm not speedrunning it for sure.
And I've played that whole thing twice.
Yeah, you mad person. That makes that statement even more baffling.
It's the second time in easy though.
Right. Just to crack through some spirits.
Just get the spirits.
Madden. Oh, so that happened. The other thing I played on Switch and finished, because I didn't think I'd quite finished the next Penelope last time I talked about it. So I finished that because I was right. There isn't really much to that game.
Yeah.
Which ended up being a bit more of a shame than I thought, because it kind of goes its thing is that it goes a little bit off the rails. It's not just a straight racing game. It does other things. It has boss fights and combat challenges and weird stuff. And, but then the last boss is literally a bad shmup. and quite a difficult one at that. Like the last couple of things are a little bit tricky. But I got it, and then it unlocks some bonus stuff that you can do if you want, like optional stuff at that point, and that stuff's bad. So, so what ended up leaving a bad taste in my mouth. Right. So here's the thing that I thought was probably the worst thing in the whole game. Right. Like one of the bonus things you open up is this. It's like a little arena, and so the game's mechanics are like, just to recap, that your little ship it's accelerating all the time. You don't have any brake or anything like that. You can only steer in terms of your ship's control, or boost. You can boost as one of the weapons, but in this mode you don't have a boost. The only ability you have is to spin a little bit like a quick 360. And there's this bouncing spark that's bouncing around the level. It costs you energy to do your spin, but every time you spin into the spark, you get your energy back, and the spark bounces away. Like you're playing some form of tennis, I guess, or like you bat it away a bit. So there's a balancing act going on, in that it's a score challenge. There are other things spawning in the arena, and you spin into them to destroy them. And the more you destroy faster, the bigger the multiplier gets. But of course, spinning and running into them costs you energy, so you've got to go and hit the spark every now and then. But if you're not spinning when the spark hits you, the spark can kill you as well. And all right, that's an idea for a random little extra mini game thing. Completely ruined by the fact that the way that spark bounces around the level is reminiscent of Games Factory bouncing ball physics.
Oh, good.
With the odd random factor that just makes it go in a totally unexpected direction and kills you, and it gets pretty fast. It's just bad. It's just really quite bad. And it's like, was this whole game written in Multimedia Fusion or something like that? I probably should have tried to find that out, because I would not be surprised. Yeah. I mean, for £1, I can't complain all that much. But it was just like, it had more promise than where it ended, unfortunately. Just a random bounce, man. Come on. It shouldn't be too difficult to write a bouncing ball motion. Like how does that happen? Like, where it just goes off in a random direction. Like, unless it's intentional. In which case, sod you. So there's that. I'm still working my way through Jet Set Radio. I'm like,
Future.
So Jet Set Radio Future, yeah. So I've got my playtime is now like more than an hour longer than my other save game on there.
All right.
And I haven't finished the game yet. My other save game is a finished state because I can't figure out how to finish the game. Like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. So I've just been going back to areas, and it's got to the point where the areas are like repopulated with more graffiti, like hard graffiti places to get to.
Right.
And in some of the areas I didn't find the secret tape yet, so I went back and I've been trying to do some of those and find the tape. I can't get my tapes, and I got my tapes. He's going in the mirror. He's singing. He's dancing.
Like appropriate quote.
So finding the forgotten tapes or whatever they're called, and then trying to do some of the street challenges there. Just because that's the thing maybe I have to do, but I don't think it is. And it's like,
I don't know. I feel like there was like you have to complete a certain percentage of everything at some point, right?
I don't know. I think maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm doing the right thing, but it's clearly taking me a lot longer than it did the first time. Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff is cool. Like just dicking around in the world doing that stuff is actually possibly some of the better stuff in places. Like, I don't know, redoing the fortified residential district was actually way more, the width of the sort of tower with all the fans. That was way more palatable the second time because I knew where to go, and I found some of the things. And going back to Rockoxy Heights and finding a staircase that solves all your problems, basically. It's like just hidden somewhere, and it's like, oh no, this is what I needed to get to these like hard to reach places I've been trying to jump to for hours, and it's like, oh no, there's just a way. There's just a thing. And discovering some of the vertical surfaces you can skate up, which is bizarre. Like, I went back to the skyscraper district, which is my most hated area, and trying to get up that weird mushroom building in the middle. Or was it the really tall thing? I still haven't found the forgotten tape on that area, in fairness. Oh, and then I found it afterwards. And then it's like, oh damn it! Now I've got to go back to that place if I want to do the high score challenge because that's where the bonus rail is. I mean, some of the scoring mechanics are really weird because it's like most of the scoring is the same everywhere, apart from there's like 1 or 2 rails per area that give you a ludicrous amount of points for being on. So the game ends up becoming, okay, grind everything until I find the one that gives me loads of points, and then figure out how to trick off this thing to get the points. There's no visual indication that that's the bonus rail or anything like that. It's just one rail will do it. Out of hundreds, there'll just be one that will be nice. And that's kind of fun in its own weird way. Like, which is the bonus rail? It's like a gap. It's like finding a gap in Tony Hawk's. Like,
except they're everywhere in Tony Hawk's rather than it just be one.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm still having a pretty good time with it, even if it's like doing this somewhat laborious stuff now. But I just kind of want to know how to finish it. I should probably go read an FAQ and try to figure out where I got to.
Probably.
But there's like none of the characters in the garage help you particularly. Like some of them are talking about this Zero Beat character, like a robot guy that they think looks like Beat, but really doesn't look like Beat. But I don't think that's relevant. I don't know. Like I don't know. No one will tell me where he is if that's the thing I've got to do. I was like, I don't know. Did I miss something? Answer's probably yes. The game's still cool, but aged.
Cool but aged.
And the other thing I started playing, don't judge me, Call of Duty Black Ops 4.
When it had finally installed.
When it installed, yeah.
When it finally installed.
I did start playing it, and so I've only played the multiplayer side of it, the traditional multiplayer side. I haven't tried Blackout yet. I haven't tried Zombies. I haven't spent a huge amount of time with it, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I should point out the fairly important factor that I'm playing it on a launch Xbox One, because I think your mileage with how acceptable you think that thing looks is going to vary wildly depending on what platform you're playing it on.
Really?
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about the good. The shooting feels real nice. Like, as it kind of, it's the same in terms of how it handles, but in multiplayer at least, it feels like the shots, I don't know, there were always moments like when you saw like replays and kill cams and in all of the CODs that I've played prior to this, where things didn't quite look like they lined up from time to time, either because of lag or from bad replays, or something just didn't quite, in the heat of the moment, in the snap that you need that would tell the difference between you winning and losing a fight. When you watch it back, it looked odd. I think all of that's kind of been solved. Like, things look right. Shots look like they're going where they're supposed to go.
That's very encouraging.
However they've solved that, I don't know what they've done or whether that was a problem in the past or anything like that. Like, when you lose or win a fight, it feels right. I don't really... I'm not come away from something and go, oh, come on, really? Well, I have because that happens, but it's not been nearly as frequent. Apart from one game, I did manage to play one game where the other team was so obviously cheating, like they just didn't die. Like it was actually impossible to kill them. You could set up like someone just be sat there for a while going bada 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 and they wouldn't die. And it's like, that's not a thing. There's no power that does that in the game. You just cut like, it was bad. You could tell because the number of people that were quitting, and I'm like, oh, right, maybe I should do that too. This is stupid. But like in terms of like how it feels very good. I think they've slightly boned up their character progression a little bit because you hit. Okay, so there's a slight difference in this between like most COD games, and that it's a little bit of a hero shooter in some respects, and that you pick a specialist, and that specialist has a super. But it also affects their what would have traditionally been a grenade power. Like, you just put a grenade in that slot or whatever you wanted in that slot, but you actually get a different ability for your specialist. For instance, the one of them will be like, I throw out ammo packs on the ground, but if you pick up my ammo pack and you use it, you get gold ammo, and that gold ammo will be worth more points towards your kill streaks. So if you want to getting hold of the ridiculous stuff, which still works in the same way it's always done, like the little explosive vehicles and the missile strikes from the sky and the attack helicopters and things like that, you can accelerate that for your whole team, which is kind of a neat idea. But that replaces your grenade. You put that down, things like that. One guy's super is to summon a dog, which is kind of cool. Used to be a kill streak, but now you can summon a dog that just goes around and murders things for you. Or one guy gets a giant shield, or one guy gets a grenade launcher. Some of this stuff they've done before in Black Ops 3, but it finally feels like they sort of nailed this. Like the specialists matter. Like your choice, it feels good, honestly. There are ways of but the problem is like with that specialist system is that it then means it's like your customization options are a little bit limited compared to what they used to be, which is then compounded by the fact that when you finally unlock creator class, I say finally, it's only at like level 5, it's not very far at all. The number of things you have unlocked to actually create a class with are very minimal. You don't have a lot of options there. However, you need to use that feature in order, if you want to level up your guns, to put the better scopes on and things like that. So what happens is you reach level 5 and then you have to stop using the pre-built classes so you can start using loadouts that will level up your gear, because the pre-built classes don't do that. And it's like, well, that seems weird. I've played this for a little while and you're rewarding me with a downgrade.
It's basically like a much less a much more annoying version of Metroid, where it's like they gave you all the skills at the start and then they got rid of them. Except it's not really the same, because it's not really an intentional thing. It's just a weird progress.
I mean, in practice, it's not actually too bad, but like it is still a downgrade. You don't get nearly as many options, or you don't get as much equipped. Like your gun will just have iron sights. You need to unlock the dot sight if you want that, and things like that. It's just it's an odd decision, and I don't think it quite works. But like, at least where I've been at with the game, anyway, these early days.
I guess they're trying to mix it up, right? But
yeah, but I don't think that side of it, I don't think it's been entirely successful. That said, I seem to be holding my own. I'm doing all right. Like, I'm not doing super terribly. They're quite generous. They're more generous with the way they dole out experience points now, in that if assists are worth the same amount as kills. So if you've had any part of a kill, you'll still get rewarded for that, even if someone snipes it at the last second or just sneaks in. And it's like, that's, from a kill streak perspective, that's pretty useful, right? Because it means people build up everyone on your team is building out kill streaks faster if you're working together, right? Because everyone will get points towards the kills, and it's like that. Again, it's just got that little bit of dopamine going on. It's just that little bit. The numbers are bigger than they used to be.
The numbers are going up,
and you're getting them more often than you used to. And it's like, so that stuff feels good as well. So I'm generally having a good time. Where I think it falls down a little bit is I don't think there's many maps in the base game. There's like 3 or 4 I can think of, really, and then like maybe a different skin or 2 to those 4 maps. So it's like it seems really very limited.
Because they made one big map for the other one.
For Blackout mode, yeah. The result is that this multiplayer, the traditional multiplayer, feels underbaked a little bit because there's not as much there. Which is a real shame, because I think it's one of the best feeling ones I've ever played. And this is where I start getting to the point about platform specificity and the stuff that is problematic on an original Xbox One, because that game looks blurry as hell in places. Like, it does not render at a high resolution at all at some points, and and it seems to do some post processing on it, so you don't get a low resolution pixely look. You get a blurry mess, and this is particularly obvious when you're in the menus and it just shows like character models and things like that. It seems to struggle with those. And they are so blurry and mushy looking. It's horrid. it's kind of okay during the game, which is interesting. Like, it sharpens up a little bit. Maybe they turn off whatever is blurring things the hell out, or maybe it's doing some LOD. But that doesn't mean that the lighting is top quality. It isn't. It doesn't mean that the textures are good. They're not. It's kind of an aged looking game on like a badly aged looking game, even though it's only just come out really on the on that machine. The worst instance, though, by far, is there is a level that one of the variants of it takes place during a sandstorm. So it covers the level in like brownish fog. That's supposed to have like a bit of an effect. I think there's some volumetric effects going on, which break. And like maybe this isn't specific to my platform, but there are times where it just bits of it go wrong, and the volumetric pixely bits of it turn black, and so it just you end up with these bizarre artifacts like that ping on and follow you around a bit, and then you turn around and at a certain angle they'll fix themselves, and it is hyper distracting. It's like it's just broken, and it's like, this is unusual. I don't think I've played a Call of Duty game where there's been something that visually awful. So it's like, oh hey, you've nailed your gameplay. Your visuals look like dog turd.
And the quality has gone wrong somewhere.
Yeah,
on this particular hardware.
Something's not right. And it is a bummer, because it's like, if that level comes up, I'm just like, no, right. Let's see what I can do to just stay indoors, and not have that problem. It shouldn't be how you play it.
No, fair enough.
Yes, that's pretty much where I've got. I will dabble with Blackout. I do want to dabble with Blackout, and a bit of me kind of wants to dabble with zombies this time, just because it's supposedly the most fleshed out version of it they've ever made, and it's like got more of a quote-unquote sensible progression to actually playing around of it. You know, it might make more sense to me. But
I still feel like you might not be able to dabble with that. I think there might be commitment requirements for zombies, really.
Well, yeah, if you're into a proper game of it, like one of those games, like on a proper team, can last a while.
Well, yeah, there's that.
It's that commitment. But the Blackout games apparently aren't very long. They're like Apex Legends length, so... If you have a decent enough one, sort of like 20 minutes max, something like that. So I might see what that is. Kip has good things to say about Blackout, although he likes quite a lot of battle royales.
Yeah, apparently.
Yes, that's kind of my thing. As I say, I managed to make a lot more words out of that than the amount of time I've put into it, really. So I'm not super enthused about it, if I'm perfectly honest. But like, I have to commend it in that it does feel good. I just wish there was a bit more in terms of maps. That's the thing. I don't want to buy DLC.
Always the problem. The number of maps.
There is like pretty much all the playlists do have a little bit of yellow text that says your map selection will be limited because you don't have the DLC, and it's like, great. I kind of don't want to be reminded of that. Thanks. I've only just started playing this cocking thing. And I haven't heard a single person talk.
Oh, really?
You accidentally turned it off.
I don't know. Maybe I have, yeah. But I'm considering that a positive.
Yeah.
I don't mind normally if they're actually trying to coordinate it, but CoD isn't exactly filled with the type of people that coordinate an attack. Little Jimmy. Screaming. Wanting some tater tarts, I don't know.
Okay.
Give me some of your tarts. I think that's me, really. Actually, I don't think I've done a whole lot else. I went to a retro gaming fair yesterday.
And what did you play?
Picked up some. No, it wasn't about playing.
It was just about.
It was a market.
Oh, cool!
They had some sweet ass stuff. I saw someone buy a mint condition mega CD.
Mint,
but it was about as mint as it could have been, man. This box was flawless. And it had and they opened it up and so, and it's like,
oh no, they opened it up.
I know, But like all the stuff was in all the original like scaffolding. Oh, I hit the mic. Sorry. All the original scaffolding was still there. All the manuals were still there. All of it was still bagged, like opened at some point. It had been used, but it's like they kept everything, and it was a sweet looking thing. 250 quid.
250.
And it was bought by someone who had one and was like, I sold this in the 90s. I made a mistake.
But why would you buy a mint one? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm sure you couldn't find a cheap ass one somewhere else.
It was quite cool, actually. There were all kinds of good stuff. Like there was one table that I think had good stuff on it, but then until you saw the price tags. Like, so there's this guy who was selling modded versions of retro consoles that had been like region hacked, or in the case of a SNES, had a special adapter plugged into them so they could take cartridges from any region and could output at 60 hertz if you wanted them to, rather than PAL 50. They'd done the work to these things, but most of them were like 300 quid. And then like for a slightly modded device, like a modded Saturn, for instance, to do multi-region was £300. And
for a Saturn, that sounds kind of more reasonable.
I think it was a couple of £100 if you wanted a Game Gear, but with a modern LCD screen on it. Rather than the blurry, weird backlit stuff that they had before.
That kind of ruined the aesthetic.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever tried a Game Gear emulator. It's just not the same. Apart from the ones that simulate the screen.
Yeah, you want the old-fashioned screen blur, because some of the games look real nice with that blur in places. Like there was some fire effects on Sonic 1. On Scrap Brain Zone, I think it was, which kind of looked cool with the screen blur in place. But when you see them how they're actually being rendered, it's like, oh, this is obvious. Of course, it's bad. it's a Master System. It can't do that much. But yeah, it is. But the way they looked, the screen quality was really quite nice on these little things, and he'd done it to some Sega Nomads as well. And to which I did hear a couple of people go, oh wow, I've never actually seen a Sega Nomad. And I'm like, got one of my loft mates up. Like, smug mode.
Not like you intentionally got that, though.
No, I didn't. I have acquired a lot of gear accidentally. No, I was quite smug at that point, I have to say. But yeah, there was all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you want a Japanese Super Famicom? They got it. You want a Mega Drive with all the cables still intact? Yeah, plenty of those too. You want an original Xbox? Probably with a leaking capacitor.
Sell it quick.
They had a couple of launch Xboxes, original Xboxes for 30 quid.
Whoa, that's pretty good. Play a bit of Halo on that shit.
That was pretty good. That was the cheapest console there.
Wow. Can you plug it into a TV nowadays? Probably with difficulty.
You'd need SCART.
You'd need SCART, yeah.
Or, actually, no, you need SCART or what is it, Composite?
Composite, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of place that I need to go and just get my Atari ST back.
And I did. You know what?
What happened to your Atari ST?
I didn't.
I know it got sold off at some point.
Oh man, bummer.
Yeah. I
didn't see any of that sort of side of it particularly. It wasn't hugely like there was stuff. There were games. There was stuff for like CPC Amstrad and things like that I saw, and some C64 stuff. But I didn't actually see a C64, an Amiga, or an Atari. There's 2,600 games there as well, actually.
In reality, like, getting the Atari ST isn't the problem. It's getting the weird selection of discs that I had. You're never going to be able to recreate that. You're never going to be able to recreate a library of that era.
No.
Where it's just like, here's a bunch of sometimes official, sometimes very not official, sometimes completely unmarked discs. Just chuck them in and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah,
that random disc that had like IK Plus on it and like all that.
Yeah,
crap.
like a Pepsi sponsored.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Except probably not actually Pepsi sponsored.
Yeah. The Cracking Crew discs. Those are the things, weren't they? With all the weird like multicolored demo screens.
Yeah.
Wobbly text. Yeah, that stuff's pretty hard.
That's the kind of shit you could only get at a car boot sale 10 years ago.
Yeah, not even now. It's really hard. So I didn't see a huge amount because it's all floppy as well. Like, and floppy doesn't last, so it's like that stuff wasn't really about. yeah, pretty much every other old. There was like the Japanese stand with like the Scottish guys that were running that thing. They were even talking about, we've got some Wonder Swan back here, and it's like, seriously? All right, cool. Boxes of random controllers. Like we found a NegCon. Did you know that one? No. All right, that's the weird twisty one. That was like Namco put out a couple of weird controllers for PlayStation. And this was one where the two halves of the controller could twist against each other.
I remember that.
As a sort of steering wheel thing.
Yes. Like a steering wheel, not at all like a steering wheel.
No. It's a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see a DrogCon, which was their other attempt, which had that big plastic steering wheel in the middle of it. But yeah, a NegCon. I don't think I've ever seen one of those in the wild. But so it was kind of interesting. I sort of went in thinking I didn't really know what I wanted to get something because I'm there, right?
Right. Good reasoning.
But whenever I spotted stuff that I actually potentially wanted, it was like so expensive. Like they did actually have. There was one stall in particular that we think were just ripping people off. Like their prices were ludicrous. Like the GameCube copy of Skies of Arcadia, which I know you have.
Yep.
But I sort of looked at thinking, like, I actually don't have a copy of Skies of Arcadia anymore after, I borrowed the Dreamcast version back in the day. I think.
Maybe.
I don't know.
You had it
at some point, but I'm pretty sure I don't have it now. And, but they had the GameCube version. I was looking at it going, oh, yeah, that'd be 75 quid? Get out of here.
No, I think that was kind of considered slightly rare.
Slightly? Not 75 quid rare.
Well, maybe nowadays. It's been a while.
They did have the Dreamcast version as well, and I'm like, even more essential. Oh, that's still 75 quid.
Okay, that's maybe a riff.
Yeah.
The GameCube version was upgraded as well. More content.
Absolutely. You want the GameCube version, really. Well, unless you're a collector and you're going for the originals.
Well,
the originals. Surprising number of copies of Toe Jam and Earl.
I don't know if that was that surprising. It's one of those games like Crash Bandicoot where it's just like there was tons of them at the time.
And I sort of looked out for like some OG Xbox stuff as well, thinking like, oh well, I haven't actually got that much on my OG Xbox. They're like,
but you've got all the stuff that's actually important.
It turns out, yeah, I look like the huge swathes of like OG Xbox, and I'm looking through and go, no, I don't want any of this.
No, that's why. It turns out there might have been more to that library, but you don't want them.
I found a copy of Blinks.
The funny thing about Blinks was
the thing about Blinks
nowadays is that I just because it's old. You kind of forget that it was a game that came on a disc and not just like a downloadable console launch game that would have been on the system or something. It's like, this was a box product that you would have been able to buy in a shop.
You'd have had to have chosen it because I don't think it was a bundle deal.
No,
with Blinks in it.
I bought it fully outright. I think must have done.
Yeah, you pretty much on launch, didn't you? Like you got Halo.
Well, the bundle I got on launch was Halo and Jet Set Radio Future.
A good bundle.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah,
and you picked up Panda at some point shortly after.
Yeah, I got Auto. Yeah.
Good stuff.
That
but then, like beyond that point,
Rally Sport Challenge.
Yeah, Rose and beyond that point, there wasn't a huge amount, was it? Like, well, neither of us got DOA 3, but I've ended up with a copy of DOA Ultimate and the boob one.
And the boob one.
I actually got gifted that.
Yeah, I
remember that. Yeah.
I know I played on the Xbox. Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Well, Halo 2 took over my life.
Halo 2 eventually, yeah, but that was a little later, yeah.
But yeah, I just remember looking through these massive piles of green, just going, I don't want any of this stuff. Maybe for a split second, I saw a copy of Mech Assault 2 and thought, well, those are supposed to be good.
At the time. But, it was like the first games on Xbox Live, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, I know, Mech Assault 1 might have been the first. I can't remember if it was the first or second, but that was like super early Xbox Live, yeah.
Yeah, it was like ahead of Halo 2.
And then there was this like similar pile of PS2, loads of PS2 stuff, because of course there is.
Yeah,
there is.
And again, looking through that selection, going, I don't really know what of these I want to play. So I ended up trying to find a copy of Sonic Advance 2 because I don't actually have a cart of that. And I was like, oh, that's one I kind of want to play properly on, like, not maybe on my GBA, but on my DS because of the better screen. But yeah, could like of all the things that were there, could not find a copy of Sonic Advance 2. Too hot,
clearly. What about 1 or 3?
Nope, neither of those.
Well, there you go.
Didn't see
that maybe more expensive.
Didn't see any Sonic action. I saw some Sonic Rush on DS and Sonic Rush Adventure. There was some carts of that floating around in between, like, the Barbie games. But... and quite a few of the was it the Mario Advance versions?
Yeah.
Quite a lot of those. But yeah, it was kind of cool thing. Yeah, Norwich retro gaming market. It was okay. It was for me at least to be able to look at all this stuff.
But don't buy any of it because it's too expensive.
It's just that one stall that was ridiculous. The rest of them were fairly reasonably priced. Like, what I was really looking for were those boxes of like battered cartridges, right? The ones that are like no box, still working, as far as I know. So one of the things for the Mega Drive I picked up was like one of those Sega used to put out like compilation carts, but they put out quite a lot of them.
Right.
So there was like Mega Games 1 that had like 3 games on it, and then Mega Games 2, and Mega Games 3, and then they started putting out the M6 collection that had like 6 games on it, and then there was M6 Volume 2 that had most of the games from the first one on it again. It was slightly odd. But then there's this like other one that I found. It's like, oh, actually, no, this is the best of all of them because it's got like all the good games on it and a shitty football game. But
always a shitty football game.
Yeah,
just like the Game Gear version of that.
But yeah, it was like
shitty football game.
But it was like the launch games, like Golden Axe and Columns, and like the things I remember playing. Like, and it's just like, oh, I'm having that. It's like a $5 for this beat up old cartridge, but I'm having it. So I'm quite looking forward to getting. Quite looking to get an RGB cable so I can plug my Mega Drive into my OSSC. And then play some crisp ass Golden Axe. Hell yeah! Not that I couldn't do that through emulation.
Yeah.
But, now I own a
that
copy.
one particularly.
Now I'm legit. Because we suffered through playing the Amiga version, Kips and I, when we were kids. Like, yeah, there was an Amiga version of Golden Axe, and it wasn't good because of one fire button. It was tricky. It didn't work very well.
I mean, that was all of the Amiga and ST versions of games like that, where like, they only have one button to work with.
Well,
work out how to change.
We played the demo of Mortal Kombat on an Amiga with one fire button. It's like, how did that even work? I assume badly.
Probably. Or it was like IK Plus, where the moves were directional inputs.
Well, a lot of the Mortal Kombat stuff, it kind of is, isn't
it? Yeah. But I mean, more literally, where the directional input is the only input.
So that has been my fortnight in gaming. Nothing to do with Fortnite.
No.
Although, when I logged into the Epic Store account to see what the sale was all about, it did immediately try and start downloading Fortnite.
Okay.
Like it just
was going to give you that to you.
Yeah, it just popped up the ULA for Fortnite, and I'm like, no.
Maybe it detected that you played it before on Xbox.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like, oh shit, you better get this on PC.
Maybe. Because that's confused me at first, because I actually tried to create a new account, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, I played it on Xbox, I've got an Epic account.
Which you can actually use on other systems.
Yeah.
Unlike Sony. Although that got
that's broken. Yeah, I mean,
it can't be broken in a different way.
Yeah, we're broke. I think that might be a podcast if you've got nothing down.
Yeah, I got Zip.
What's going on, man?
Just
ain't there an Assassin's Creed game you can play or something?
Oh, there's loads of games. I've got Spider-Man to finish. I just had a weird couple of weeks, so I'm playing games.
A weird
couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll settle down, I think, maybe, and play some more games these next 2 weeks. I hope, anyway.
Hopefully.
I hope.
Although it's getting to
E3.
Oh, well, I don't know about you guys, but it's getting to, like, sunny in the evenings. Don't want to be inside.
That's why you have a Switch. Take that shit outside.
I guess so. Okay, dedication.
Also, I'm tempted to say that you don't know us very well, do you?
Yeah, also.
Okay, fair.
He goes outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Outside is warm at this time of year.
Well, no,
not in the evening.
Not hot.
Yeah.
Warm is the temperature you want.
True.
Yeah.
I should have kept my old mattress and just left it out in the garden.
So you could
just go out there and switch in comfort.
So you could look like
switch
a hobo.
it up.
That too. Yeah, but I'm a comfortable hobo, that's fine.
Fully comfortable hobo. Yeah, that's going to do
That's a podcast.
That's a podcast. Have you got any videos coming up? I think there was...
There's some more Sonic Forces.
Some more Sonic Forces.
Hell yeah. Although I say hell yeah, but spoilers. We got kind of bored.
I knew it. But still.
It's even for a Sonic game, it's
painfully.
It's bad in a way I didn't expect. It's not even
you
that
finding
bad.
new ways to be bad.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
There were at least a couple of plot points for us to cling to and be like, what the fuck is going on? That's our job with Sonic, basically.
Yeah.
Deep analysis of Sonic lore.
Of the lore. Okay. Well, if you're into terrible Sonic lore, check out our YouTube channel. We also have other things on there, which you can check out from the archive.
From the archive.
Indeed. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks for pre-E3 stuff, or will it be... Yeah,
it should still be pre-E3 next time.
It will basically happen almost immediately after the next curve.
The build-up. We'll see that.
Hype train. Predictions cast.
You'll listen to us there, or whatever. Bye.
Bye.